Chapter 84. Beat your father up. Even though they were both daughters, Wu Ruofei was showered with affection and treated as the apple of her father's eye, but she nearly died at Wu Ruofei's hands. What kind of heart-wrenching pain could be more cruel than this? Su Yingxue couldn't help but think of her previous life. She understood Wu Jinyan's pain very well. After allowing her tears to flow for a while, Wu Jinyang rationally asked Su Yingxue, "By barging into the estate to save me, you must have attracted attention. Did I cause you any trouble?" Su Yingxue held her chin and thought about it seriously. "Is it troublesome to beat up your father?" She intentionally teased Wu Jinyang, but Wu Jinyan's heart skipped a beat. "What? You beat up my father? What? Sister Jinyang blames me for, no. I'm worried about you. He's a high-ranking official in the court. It's a serious offense to harm an official. How could you? How can you go to such lengths for me? If it implicates you and affects your well-being, how can I find peace in my heart?" Wu Jinyang anxiously shed tears. Su Yingxue wiped the corners of her eyes. "Sister, as long as you don't blame me, that's all that matters. As for whether it's a serious offense or not, since I dared to act, I can assure you that I won't be guilty. Besides, it's your father who should be held accountable. Look at how you've been tortured, and yet he turns a blind eye, allowing Wu Ruofei to torment you. He's the one who failed as a father, and that's a serious crime." Wu Jinyang let out a mocking laugh. "To be a father. He's not worthy." Wu Jinyang rarely talked about family matters, but Su Yingxue could see the resentment in her eyes. It seemed that she had suppressed it for too long and didn't need to bear it any longer. Wu Jinyang knew that now that Su Yingxue had saved her, she probably had no more relationship with the minister's estate. She lay on the bed, her face pale, but her gaze was resolute. "Yingxue, I will repay you for saving me. Of course, the cost of saving your life is very expensive. Sister should think about how to repay me in the future." Su Yingxue jokingly eased the tension, hoping that Wu Jinyang wouldn't worry too much. She comforted Wu Jinyang to sleep, instructed Manager Qi to take good care of her, and then prepared to return to the estate with Jilan. Manager Qi wrote down the medical report, a full 3 pages long. "Miss, please take a look." Su Yingxue glanced at it and thought to herself that Manager Qi was indeed a meticulous person. She could entrust her future sister-in-law to Manager Qi with peace of mind. As Su Yingxue returned to the estate with Jilan, she spotted old Madame Zhong waiting at the entrance. Now, old Madame Zhong was Su Yingxue's eyes in the estate. If any trouble arose, she would be waiting at the entrance for Su Yingxue's return. Upon entering, Su Yingxue was informed by old Madame Zhong, "Miss, 2 officials came today to complain with the master. They are currently in the main hall. The master sent someone to wait at our courtyard entrance to intercept you." Upon hearing this, Su Yingxue changed direction and headed straight to the main hall. She asked, "Do you recognize the 2 officials?" Old Madame Zhong replied, "One is Lord Liang, who has previously visited the estate. The other one is an unfamiliar lord. He seems to be injured, limping and covering his face." With a clear understanding, Su Yingxue instructed old Madame Zhong and Jilan to return to the courtyard first while she proceeded to the main hall. The reception hall of the Marquise Manor had 2 redwood pillars supporting the spacious hall. Inside, the decorations were exquisite, and a faint fragrance lingered. There were people seated in the 3 designated positions. When Su Yingxue came in, the atmosphere was very tense. It was as if the air had stopped circulating. Chapter 85. Report to the Marquise residence. Her sudden appearance made Su Dingheng's heart skip a beat. With a face ashen, he pointed at her and cursed, "You unfilial daughter, kneel now." Su Yingxue crossed her arms over her chest, her expression cold. "I won't kneel." Her cold refusal prompted Wu Hongtao to jeer, "Marquis, your upbringing is truly commendable. Even when you ask her, your daughter, to kneel, she dares to openly defy you. It seems like she will trample all over you, her father, in the future." These words struck Su Dingheng's face like a slap. His face turned green and white, and he didn't dare to tell Wu Hongtao that Su Yingxue had already stepped all over him, but the more he was mocked, the more he wanted to vent his anger on Su Yingxue. "Unfilial daughter, since I can no longer control you, You've become more and more reckless. How dare you assault an official of the court? You've committed such a serious crime, and I will never show you any favoritism. Su Yingxue lowered her head and smiled faintly. If I had truly committed such a serious crime, would you, father, show me any favoritism? Since she wanted to sever ties with him in front of Wu Hongtao, why should she give him a face? Su Yingxue, you. Su Dingheng felt a throbbing pain in his chest as if he was about to spit out a mouthful of blood again. All right, Marquis, Lord Liang has come to the Marquise Manor today for official business. Let's discuss your family matters after Lord Liang and Lord Wu leave. Liang Jin spoke up timely to diffuse the tension. He had admired the genius doctor in the past, and now he admired Su Yingxue even more for her remarkable medical skills at such a young age. However, as the capital governor, he had to handle the case impartially. He looked at Su Yingxue sternly. Miss Su, Lord Wu has filed a complaint against you at the capital prefecture, accusing you of assaulting an official of the court. Do you plead guilty? Do you have any defense? Su Yingxue glanced indifferently at the complaint in Liang Jin's hand and said, I plead not guilty. How dare you? Su Yingxue, it was you who injured me. Many people outside the clinic witnessed it. You won't escape the consequences. Wu Hongtao slammed the table and stood up with an indignant expression. He thought that by standing together with Liang Jin, he could intimidate Su Yingxue and make her beg for mercy in front of him. But she remained so arrogant. Truly infuriating. Su Yingxue took out Wu Jinyan's pulse chart from her sleeve and handed it to Liang Jin. Lord Liang, your timing is perfect. I also want to file a complaint against Lord Wu for committing a serious crime. Liang Jin was confused, while Su Dingheng and Wu Hongtao were dumbfounded. Wu Hongtao was confused. In the blink of an eye, he had become the accused. Liang Jin scrutinized the pulse chart, not understanding why Su Yingxue was showing it to him. Su Yingxue continued, Lord Liang, the signature on the chart belongs to Wu Jinyang, Lord Wu's biological daughter. And the serious crime committed by Lord Wu is neglecting his familial duties and allowing his daughter to commit murder, almost killing his flesh and blood. Wu Hongtao's heart skipped a beat. You're making baseless accusations. You're slandering me. If the pulse chart is baseless, then why did Lord Wu come to my clinic today causing a scene? That's because you injured my daughter and disrupted the minister's estate. Why did I hit Wu Ruofei? Because you saved that little bitch Wu Jinyang. As Wu Hongtao spoke, he suddenly felt that something was amiss. He had been led by this wretched girl and inadvertently revealed the truth. Liang Jin's expression changed upon hearing this. Lord Wu, how can you call your daughter a little wench? And it seems that you were aware of this incident. The two young ladies in your residence had a dispute, and Miss Wu Jinyan's injuries are indeed real. Chapter 86, A Serious Crime This. How can this be true? How could a conflict between two daughters result in such injuries? Ruofei is a bit hot-tempered, but she wouldn't have inflicted such severe harm. It was this Su Yingxue who attacked my daughter without any reason, so I went to confront her on Ruofei's behalf. But then Su Yingxue, and she even attacked me. Lord Liang, you have to help me with this matter. Wu Hongtao pretended to be a victim along with Wu Ruofei. Liang Jin looked at Su Yingxue. Miss Su, this pulse chart doesn't prove anything. Where is Wu Jinyang? If you want to sue Lord Wu, I need to send someone to examine the injuries. Su Yingxue nodded. Wu Jinyang is recovering in my clinic. Lord Liang can send an officer to examine her injuries at any time, but please send a female officer. Of course. Liang Jin waved his hand, and his subordinate immediately brought the female officer to the clinic. The round trip was swift. The female officer returned with a report. Sir, I have examined Miss Wu's injuries. They are exactly as described in the pulse chart. If she hadn't been rescued in time, she might have lost her life. Liang Jin was enraged upon hearing this. He pointed at Wu Hongtao and said, Lord Wu, what kind of father are you? Do you consider the children born from concubines, not your blood, not your daughters? Wu Hongtao was caught off guard by the scolding. He had forgotten that he was initially trying to cover up for Wu Ruofei. Lord Liang, please calm down. It's not like that. Su Yingxue is making baseless accusations. Ruofei is a good-hearted child. She is just a bit spoiled. But when I saved Wu Jinyang, I heard Wu Ruofei say she wanted to torture Wu Jinyang to death. Otherwise, I wouldn't have accidentally injured her. Ultimately, I was trying to save Wu Jinyang's life. Lord Wu, please don't take offense if I harmed your precious daughter. Su Yingxue immediately shifted all the blame onto Wu Hongtao and exaggerated it. Wu Hongtao forgot to defend himself for a moment. He pondered whether he had truly gone too far. After a moment of contemplation, he regained his composure and angrily accused Su Yingxue, "You're being unreasonable. It was you who barged into my residence, injured my daughter, and even attacked me. It's all your fault. And Lord Wu is not at fault. You allow your daughter to commit murder and disregard her life. You are an uncompassionate father and an unjust official, yet you dare to sue me before Lord Liang?" Su Yingxue raised an eyebrow, resembling a small lion bearing its claws. Wu Hongtao's face turned red from being scolded. "I have been an official for many years, known for my integrity. You are slandering me. Slandering an official of the imperial court is an additional crime. I will leave it to Lord Liang to judge whether I'm guilty or not. As far as I recall, last month, the assistant of the Ministry of Justice had close connections with you. When he visited your residence, he even brought in several boxes through the back door of the minister's estate. I wonder what those boxes contained." Su Yingxue tilted her head innocently. Her words pierced into Wu Hongtao's heart like a steel needle. This Su Yingxue was indeed a peculiar creature, knowing even about that incident. "Don't make baseless claims without evidence. Su Yingxue, you have injured me and my daughter. I will not let this matter rest." He turned to Liang Jin and cupped his hands. "Lord Liang, as the capital governor, please judge this matter fairly." Liang Jin's face darkened as he glanced at him. "I will deliver a fair judgment, but Lord Wu, you cannot escape the consequences. Allowing your daughter to commit murder is indeed a grave crime." Chapter 87. Su Yingxue doesn't have to kneel. Wu Hongtao knew that his current excuses would not deceive Liang Jin, so he shifted the blame onto Su Yingxue. "Lord Liang, Su Yingxue has also committed a serious crime. You must not tolerate it." In Liang Jin's eyes, Wu Hongtao's disregard for familial relations was even more shameful than Su Yingxue's actions. With a stern face, Liang Jin responded, "I will make my judgment." He sat down and contemplated how to handle the situation. After half an hour, Liang Jin looked at Wu Hongtao and Su Yingxue. "Both of you are plaintiffs and defendants, and both of you have made mistakes. Therefore, I have decided to take both of you back to the capital prefecture for custody and schedule a court hearing at a later date." Wu Hongtao couldn't stay silent any longer. "Lord Liang, I am an appointed official of the court. How can I be placed under custody? If this news spreads, I will lose my reputation. This cannot be." On the other hand, Su Yingxue appeared relatively calm. "I am willing to go with Lord Liang." She was very clear about Liang Jin's reputation as an impartial and just official. She was confident that when the court hearing took place, she would ensure Wu Hongtao confessed and faced justice. In Liang Jin's eyes, he developed a slight admiration for Su Yingxue. Her composure and demeanor were truly remarkable. On the contrary, Wu Hongtao received a harsh scolding from Liang Jin. "If you care so much about your reputation, why didn't you properly discipline your daughter? It's only now, when lives are at stake, that you suddenly care about your reputation. It's too late." Wu Hongtao's face was completely flushed, experiencing unprecedented humiliation. All of this was due to Su Yingxue. Su Dingheng felt a surge of delight when he saw Su Yingxue being taken away. He even pretended to be a loving father and instructed Su Yingxue, "Yingxue, since Lord Liang is taking you into custody, I will take care of your clinic and shop on your behalf. While you are in the capital prefecture, reflect on your crimes. Don't provoke Lord Liang again." Su Yingxue shattered his illusions without any mercy. "Father, there are professionals to manage the clinic and the shop. Even if I'm not around, you don't have to worry." "What? What are you saying? Are you afraid that your father will embezzle your money?" Su Dingheng became furious. Su Yingxue didn't hide her intentions at all. Indeed, that's the case. So, father, please don't meddle in my affairs. You unfilial daughter. Su Dingheng exploded. He wished for Liang Jin to take Su Yingxue away and never let her return. Hold on. Just as Liang Jin was about to leave with his entourage, Chu Yihan entered the Marquise Manor. As a renowned war hero, respected by everyone in the Great Cheng dynasty, Chu Yihan was highly regarded even though there were no more battles, and he was no longer seen in his armor. Liang Jin held great respect for him. He quickly knelt to pay his respects. Greetings, Your Highness. He reminded Su Dingheng and Wu Hongtao, who also knelt before Chu Yihan. Greetings, Your Highness. Chu Yihan nodded and walked over. He supported Su Yingxue, who was about to kneel before him, and softly said, "You don't need to kneel before me." These words whispered into her ear were ambiguous and provocative, causing her tender earlobes to blush. Chu Yihan took his seat in the main position. 3 appointed officials of the imperial court remained kneeling in the hall, while Su Yingxue stood. The atmosphere was exceedingly peculiar. However, since Chu Yihan had forbidden Su Yingxue to kneel, Liang Jin and the others dared not utter a word. Noticing that Su Yingxue was still standing, Chu Yihan's voice turned colder as he said, "Sit down." Su Yingxue was speechless. Her father and Liang Jin were still kneeling. It didn't seem good. Seeing that she was still standing, Chu Yihan said coldly, "Sit down." Chapter 88. Your Highness is too unbiased. Yes, Your Highness. Su Yingxue suddenly became obedient. She intentionally sat next to Wu Hongtao, who was kneeling obediently. It looked as if he was kneeling before her. Wu Hongtao was seething with anger but didn't dare to act recklessly in front of Chu Yihan. He could only cover his bruised ego with his hand. Liang Jin sought Chu Yihan's guidance. "Your Highness, with your presence here, do you find any flaws in my handling of the case?" Chu Yihan's face turned stern, and his eyes were as cold as stars. "I don't understand when Lord Liang, who has served as the capital governor for so many years, started making such careless decisions." Liang Jin's heart trembled, and he quickly prostrated himself. "I have been remiss. I humbly request Your Highness' guidance, and I will correct my mistakes promptly." Chu Yihan naturally exuded an aura of nobility and dominance. Liang Jin, Wu Hongtao, and Su Dingheng didn't dare to challenge him. They remained on their knees, bowing as if they were in the Taikai Hall, attentively listening to the emperor's decrees. "Lord Liang, in both cases you handled, the root cause lies with Wu Hongtao's lack of discipline and instigation. Yet you plan to take the rescuer and the provoked individual into custody. Does that make any sense?" Chu Yihan's voice grew colder, and his pressure intensified. Although Liang Jin felt the pressure, he had no choice but to speak the truth. "Your Highness, although Miss Su is the rescuer and was provoked, she is also at fault for causing harm. Moreover, she knew that Lord Wu is an appointed official of the court, yet she assaulted him in public. This cannot be considered innocence." Wu Hongtao saw an opportunity to defend himself. "That's right, Your Highness. This Su Yingxue intruded into my residence and assaulted me in public. It was truly going too far." Chu Yihan nodded. "I heard that when Lord Wu went to the clinic, he brought more than 20 guards with him." Wu Hongtao wanted to gain sympathy from Chu Yihan, so he continued, "That's correct. All of my 20 guards were injured. Your Highness, just look at my face. It's swollen from Su Yingxue's slap. Do you still have the audacity to complain to me?" Chu Yihan reprimanded with a cold voice. "As an official of the imperial court, you have recklessly harassed a weak woman and brought numerous guards with you, only to end up battered and bruised. Wu Hongtao, how is it that I was unaware that there is such a useless person in the court? What purpose does the court serve by providing a salary to worthless individuals like you?" Wu Hongtao was stunned into silence. Su Yingxue was also momentarily stunned. She propped up her face, her beautiful eyes filled with puzzlement. She wanted to ask Chu Yihan, "Your Highness, isn't your bias a little too obvious?" She couldn't help but let out a laugh. However, Chu Yihan didn't perceive it that way. His voice remained cold and deep. As an official of the imperial court, you have brought disgrace upon the court. Today, I shall punish you with 100 cane strikes. Lord Liang will bring you back to the capital prefecture for the execution. 100 cane strikes. Wu Hongtao collapsed onto the ground. Wasn't this tantamount to taking his life? Liang Jin also felt that 100 cane strikes were excessive, but Chu Yihan was the 9th prince, and he was above everyone else. Even the emperor might not refute his words. Therefore, Liang Jin didn't argue and instead tactfully responded, I will comply with the decree. However, Your Highness, I must ensure Lord Wu's safety, or else the case cannot be tried in the future. Lord Liang, you shall make that decision yourself. Chu Yihan ceased further questioning. As for Miss Su, Your Highness, what will be her fate? If you have no specific instructions, I will bring her back to the capital prefecture, Liang Jin stated as he stood up. She doesn't need to accompany you back to the capital prefecture. I will personally watch over her until the court hearing takes place, Chu Yihan replied with an unchanged expression. Chapter 89. Did this king let you get up? Liang Jin's eyes were filled with confusion. Your Highness, how will you personally guard her? In what manner? There was a distinction between men and women. In his residence, there were female attendants who could watch over Su Yingzux, but Chu Yihan was a man. Was he going to personally guard Su Yingxue in the Marquise manner? Su Dingheng grew anxious. Your Highness, it's unnecessary to trouble you. My daughter has made a mistake. I humbly request Lord Liang to bring her back to the capital prefecture. Are you kidding? He was already afraid of Chu Yihan. If he stayed in the Marquise manor to watch over Su Yingzux, would his frail heart still hold up? Su Yingxue also felt uneasy. Your Highness, according to customs, it would be better for me to go with Lord Liang. Chu Yihan watched over her every day, but she refused. Do you not want me to guard you? Chu Yihan's cold gaze fell on Su Yingzux. His eyes were beautiful, but she could sense a hint of resentment as if she had done something cruel to him. Su Yingxue's lips twitched. She had to be cruel. Yes. The resentment in Chu Yihan's eyes vanished, and he spoke coldly to Liang Jin. Did you see that? She doesn't want to be guarded by me. It means she fears me. She willingly goes with you, but if anything happens to her under your care, whether she escapes, runs away, or if you handle the case unfairly, how will you handle it? Liang Jin was perplexed, his mind filled with question marks. He used his lifetime of experience in handling cases to analyze Chu Yihan's words and came to the conclusion, Chu Yihan forbade him from colluding with Su Yingxue. To confirm his suspicions, Chu Yihan added, I've heard that Mrs. Liang has a strict upbringing. If she learns that you're bringing a woman back to the manor to guard her, would she not be concerned? This, Liang Jin, known for his impartiality, was defeated by Chu Yihan. He had no choice but to compromise. If Your Highness is willing to personally guard Miss Su, then it would be good. However, can Your Highness guarantee that she won't escape or face any mishaps until the day I open the court? Naturally, I guarantee it, Chu Yihan said casually. Your Highness, there's no need to trouble yourself. It's better than Lord Liang guards my daughter. Su Yingxue refused once again. To have Chu Yihan watch over her, what kind of situation would that be? What if he had to sleep in her bed at night to keep watch? Recalling their previous experience of sharing a bed, Su Yingxue felt the probability of that happening was too high. Chu Yihan held onto the jade pendant at his waist and calmly said, alternatively, the people from Tongchang Medical Center are suspected of assisting you in assaulting an official of the court. It might be better to bring them back to the capital prefecture for supervision as well. Su Yingxue clenched her lips. Chu Yihan, shameless. In the end, she compromised with the oppressive force. Liang Jin took Wu Hongtao away. Before leaving, he requested a promise from Chu Yihan that he would watch over Su Yingxue and prevent her from causing trouble at the minister's estate. Chu Yihan agreed. After Liang Jin departed, Su Yingxue intended to return to her courtyard. As the person assigned to guard her, Chu Yihan naturally accompanied her. When Su Dingheng saw Chu Yihan leave, he quickly had the servants help him up. Chu Yihan's chilling voice echoed in the air. Did I give you permission to rise? Plop. Su Dingheng was so frightened that he knelt back down and shouted, I wouldn't dare. Your Highness, please forgive me. Chu Yihan brazenly entered Su Yingshu's courtyard. Behind him, Mo Qi silently admired his master's audacity. Su Yingxue entered the bedroom, and Chu Yihan followed. Jilan blocked his path. Your Highness, this is Miss Private Chamber. It would be best if you didn't enter. Chapter 90. This king will only hide you. Chu Yihan's face, as exquisite as a fairy, remained serious. As the guardian, do you think I would do anything to your miss? Jilan lowered her head, trembling. I dare not, Your Highness. She stepped aside and watched as Chu Yihan entered the room. She inwardly sighed, Miss, I have done my best. She couldn't stop him. From the window, Su Yingxue heard Chu Yihan's footsteps approaching and quickly spoke up, Your Highness, please don't come in. I'm changing my clothes. Chu Yihan's gaze deepened. Did this little girl intentionally say that for him to hear? He stood in front of the screen, watching as her graceful figure was depicted by the jade screen. Suddenly, an impulse surged within him to enter the room. Moreover, he sensed the presence of another person behind the screen. Chu Yihan swiftly circled around to the back of the screen, and Su Yingxue immediately jumped out to block his line of sight. Your Highness, is this how you guard someone? You even want to see my body? Chu Yihan raised an eyebrow and playfully pinched her nose. I do. Su Yingxu's face turned beet red, and Chu Yihan's bluntness was beyond ordinary. Couldn't he be a bit more reserved? His intentions were so obvious. To conceal the person behind her, she pushed Chu Yihan out first. Your Highness, please wait outside. Chu Yihan turned around as if he was about to leave. However, when Su Yingxue wasn't paying attention, he swiftly turned back and slipped into the room. His sharp gaze swept across Su Yingxu's bed, but he found no signs of anyone hiding. However, his instincts told him otherwise. Does Your Highness really see me as a criminal? Su Yingxu's gaze turned cold. Chu Yihan returned to her side and led her out. I'm just afraid that there may be someone with ill intentions lurking around you. That person emitted a bloodthirsty aura. He was worried it would pose a threat to Su Yingxue. I don't have a habit of hiding people in my room, Su Yingxue huffed. I have only hidden you. Chu Yihan affectionately rubbed her nose. The coldness in Su Yingxu's eyes subsided slightly. Thank you, Your Highness, for today, but I don't like being constantly guarded. I understand. The purpose of guarding is to protect you. With I am here, anyone with malicious intent won't dare to lay a hand on you. Chu Yihan gazed at her with a gentle expression. Su Yingxue felt a sense of unease. Chu Yihan's tense relationship with the emperor could affect her investigation into her mother's death within the palace. Her sole purpose in this life was revenge, and she had no time for romance. She released Chu Yihan's hand. Thank you, Your Highness, for your kindness. There's nothing I can do to repay you. Have you taken the medicine I gave you last time? Chu Yihan smiled. Yes, I drank it. It indeed helped heal my old injuries. In that case, I'll prepare another prescription for you, Your Highness. If you take it for some time, your recovery will be even faster. Su Yingxue asked Chu Yihan to wait in the room for a while as she went in and out of the Medicine King's Valley. After gathering some rare medicinal herbs, she prepared the medicine and handed it to him. Chu Yihan held the medicine packet in his hand. Is this your way of showing your concern for me? I accept it. Su Yingxue had always thought her skin was fair, but whenever Chu Yihan spoke, she would easily blush. She nodded quietly. Consider it as such. Chu Yihan received her kindness and left, satisfied. Mo Qi looked at the medicine in Chu Yihan's hand and sighed, Master, it's rare to see a girl delivering medicine to you. Chapter 91. The Battle of the Three Kingdoms. Madame Wu of the minister's mansion. In the past, Chu Yihan would receive either scented letters or personal items from women, all meant to please him and express affection. A sense of pride appeared in Chu Yihan's eyes. I have said before that she is not an ordinary woman. Mo Qi was silently criticizing him when he suddenly heard Chu Yihan say, There is an assassin by her side. Find out who it is and kill him. Chu Yihan's eyes flashed with coldness, and Mo Chi immediately dropped his joking expression. Understood, master. After Chu Yihan left, Ziwei quietly appeared in front of Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue patted his shoulder. Fortunately, he didn't discover anything. Ziwei was expressionless, his voice hoarse. He did. But you hid so well just now. He sensed my presence. Ziwei's eyes gleamed with killing intent. After years of being an assassin, he was 100 times more sensitive than an ordinary person. He could sense that Chu Yihan possessed the same sensitivity, and not only that, but his martial arts skills were also extremely powerful. Su Yingxue felt a heavy burden on her heart. Be more cautious in the future. Don't let him find out. Chu Yihan was a high-ranking prince, and Su Yingxue worried that it would lead to a conflict between him and Ziwei. However, she didn't expect Ziwei to say, "He will kill me." What? Do you have some personal grudge? No, it's just my intuition, Ziwei said coldly. His intuition made Su Yingxue not know whether to laugh or cry. Isn't it said that a woman's intuition is the most accurate? Are men's intuitions accurate too? Ziwei's gaze turned cold. Others may not be accurate, but I am. The corners of Su Yingxue's mouth twitched. Wow, he was extremely confident. However, she had already gotten used to having Ziwei by her side. She felt at ease with him around. In the following days, she took care of Wu Jinyang, who recovered quickly. Although she couldn't leave her bed, her complexion improved. Su Yingxue told her about Wu Hongtao being beaten and imprisoned. Wu Jinyang remained indifferent, showing no concern. Su Yingxue could see a sense of relief in her eyes. Wu Jinyang was considerate and understanding. She had even prevented Su Yingxue from telling Su Hao about her injuries. Jillian's heart ached for Wu Jinyang and asked, "Miss, are we not going to tell eldest young master about this?" She felt that what Wu Jinyang needed now was comfort and companionship from Su Hao. Su Yingxue also struggled with this matter. It was fine if Su Hao didn't know about it, but if he found out later, it would only bring him heartache for Wu Jinyang. However, she had no experience in relationships in her past and present lives, so she did not know if she should tell Su Hao about this. While Su Yingxue was pondering, a middle-aged woman dressed in luxurious clothes entered the clinic. She walked directly toward Su Yingxue, her dignified and graceful appearance accompanied by a slight smile. "Hello, Miss Su." Su Yingxue's brow twitched. "Madam, are you here for a medical visit? Please go to the counter and wait for your turn." Madam Wu was kind and polite. "I'm here to pick up my daughter. Jinyang has been staying with Miss Su for so long, causing you inconvenience." "Picking up your daughter?" Su Yingxue's lips curled up. "Interesting." Madam Wu couldn't sit still anymore. Madam Wu smiled and nodded. "Yes, after all, Jinyang is the daughter of the minister's estate. It wouldn't be proper to keep troubling Miss Su. Madam Wu, are you planning to bring Sister Jinyang back and continue to mistreat her, torturing her to death?" Su Yingxue smiled, but her beautiful eyes emitted an icy chill. The smile on Madam Wu's face froze, and she quickly said, "What are you talking about, Miss Su? The daughter of the minister's estate is naturally well cared for. How could she be mistreated?" Chapter 92. The Battle of the Three Kingdoms. Entanglement between women. Could it be that Sister Jinyang caused her injuries? Su Yingxue coldly questioned. "If Miss Su insists on discussing injuries, then I will have a proper discussion with Miss Su." Madam Wu waved her handkerchief. "Bring Miss in." A group of people outside the door brought in a luxurious chaise lounge. Wu Ruofei had thick bandages wrapped around her hands and legs, and she appeared before everyone with a resentful expression. Madam Wu walked to Wu Ruofei's side, held her hand, and wiped away 2 tears. "I came here today to have all of the people in the clinic to be witnesses. This is my daughter. She used to be a bit willful and temperamental, but she was a good girl. However, she suddenly encountered a calamity and had her limbs severed. Although Wu Ruofei lacked intelligence, her face was delicate and tender. At this moment, tears of anger were streaming down her face, causing many to sympathize with her. Oh, what kind of person did this girl offend? She was beaten so severely. It seems to be related to Miss Su. Could it be that she was the one who attacked her? This is the Minister Estate's daughter. Miss Su is too audacious. Su Yingxuk's reputation was already not very good. Despite her previous accomplishment of healing Consort Xiong and gaining the reputation of a genius doctor, it had only managed to change the opinion of a few commoners. However, when Madame Wu presented Wu Ruofei to the public, it reinforced the negative perception of Su Yingxue. Regardless of Su Yingxue's exceptional medical skills, she was still seen as a person with questionable character and cruel in her actions. Su Yingxue's eyes emanated a chilling aura. If Madame Wu wants to treat Miss, I will accept patients as usual. However, if Madame Wu wants to bring Sister Jinyang back to continue tormenting her, I will not stand idly by. After all, your daughter's life is important, and although Sister Jinyang is a concubine's daughter, her life is just as precious. Who is she? She's just a servant that I can beat and scold as I please. Wu Ruofei couldn't bear to see Su Yingxue protecting Wu Jinyang like this. Since she was young, her mother had taught her about the distinction between main and side branches. She was the legitimate daughter of the family and should enjoy all the love and favor, while people like Wu Jinyang were born as lowly as servants and dogs. She didn't need to be polite to them and could treat them however she wanted. Su Yingxue sneered. Everyone present has heard it. In Miss Wu's eyes, even blood relatives are considered servants. If I were to hand Sister Jinyang over to you, she would probably die in the minister's estate, and no one would even bother to collect her corpse. Madame Wu, please understand that I cannot agree to your request. Madame Wu lowered her head and gave Wu Ruofei a stern look, gesturing for her to be quiet. Wu Ruofei sulked with a pouted mouth, suppressing her anger. She thought that as long as she could bring Wu Jinyang back, she could continue to torment her as she pleased. Miss Su, how can you say such things? Although our Ruofei is a bit delicate, Jinyang is still her biological sister. Sisters often argue and bicker, but in just 1 or 2 days, they will still be sisters. Jinyang has grown up in the minister's estate all these years. Why hasn't she mentioned her grievances until now? But the moment Miss Su appeared, she claimed that Jinyang was seriously injured. Now, she won't even allow her to meet Jinyang. Miss Su, as a mother, how can I feel at ease with Jinyang being with you? Su Yingxue had to admit that Madame Wu was skilled at twisting the truth, but she would never allow Wu Jinyang to go back. Madam, you want to bring Sister Jinyang back and use her as a bargaining chip, don't you? She whispered in Madame Wu's ear. A trace of ruthlessness flashed in Madame Wu's eyes. Her voice turned gentle. Miss Su, you have misunderstood. As the mistress of the house, I must love and care for my daughter. Chapter 93, The Battle of the Three Kingdoms. There's always a way to make Su Yingxue worry, no need to pretend. Let me tell you, that's impossible. Su Yingxue took 2 steps back and waved her hand, signaling to Manager Qi. Manager Qi, please ask Madame Wu to leave. Manager Qi complied and approached, but Madame Wu retorted, Miss Su, are you trying to chase people away just because you don't agree? Does this clinic usually exhibit such domineering and bullying behavior, mistreating the weak? Su Yingxue let out a cold laugh. Madame Wu, I won't hand over Sister Jinyang to you. If you enjoy the scent of herbs in my clinic, be my guest. Madame Wu was left downstairs by Su Yingxue. She neither left nor became angry, and she sat in the clinic's lobby with Wu Ruofei. People came and went, and they couldn't help but cast a few glances at them. These glances quickly turned into discussions. As the discussions continued, the news of this incident began to spread. Some bored individuals, after finishing their treatment, lingered around, waiting to witness the outcome of this spectacle. Wu Ruofei had never been subjected to such scrutiny by so many people before. She was both annoyed and flustered throughout the afternoon, her small face turning red. She tugged at her mother's hand, acting spoiled. Mother, let's go home. This clinic smells awful. The people here are so dirty. I don't want to stay here. Endure a little longer. Madame Wu maintained her composure. She embraced Wu Ruofei and lowered her voice. Su Yingxue isn't someone easy to deal with. She even caused your father to be imprisoned in the capital prefecture. If we can't bring Sister Jinyang back and use it as leverage against her, we'll be at her mercy. But this place is dirty and smelly. It hurts. Mother, Wu Ruofei persisted, displaying the temperament of a child denied a candy. She couldn't care less about what her mother said about the consequences. She just wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. If you still want to torment Wu Jinyang, listen to your mother. Madame Wu seized Wu Ruofei's painful spot. It was Wu Jinyang who caused her to have her limbs broken by Su Yingxue. She couldn't harm Su Yingxue, but she longed to break every bone in Wu Jinyang's body. To retrieve Wu Jinyang, she clenched her teeth and endured for a long time. The mother and daughter sat in the clinic's lobby until dusk. In Su Yingxue's consultation room, Manager Qi approached to report, "Madame Wu has no intention of leaving yet, miss. Although we didn't have many patients today, there are quite a few spectators. This may have an impact on the clinic's reputation." Su Yingxue finished writing the last prescription and furrowed her brow. Madame Wu was proving difficult to deal with. She couldn't allow Wu Jinyang to intervene, as it would make her seem weak in terms of reason. She said, "Let them wait. When the clinic closes, ask them to leave. If they refuse, have someone stay behind to keep watch and ensure nothing untoward happens." Madame Wu waited the entire day, but Su Yingxue remained unyielding. In the evening, Wu Ruofei had to return home to change her bandages and take her medicine before they left together. After Wu Ruofei finished drinking her medicine, she lay on the bed, wiping away her tears in frustration. "Mother, didn't you promise that we would bring Wu Jinyang back and make Su Yingxue anxious?" Now, Su Yingxue showed no signs of urgency, and Wu Jinyang had not been retrieved. Wu Ruofei was both angry and in pain, unable to sleep soundly at night. Madame Wu patted her shoulder, trying to console her. "Don't worry. Su Yingxue is just a woman. Even if she can harm your father, she has no reason to harm us now. She's protecting Wu Jinyang because she has her concerns. She's also handling a tricky question." A hint of maliciousness flashed in Madame Wu's eyes. She had ways to make Su Yingxue anxious. Chapter 94. Forcing Su Yingxue to hand over Wu Jinyang for the next few days, she brought Wu Ruofei to the clinic every day, but they remained calm and didn't cause any trouble. Each time, Wu Ruofei would only cry and plead, begging for Wu Jinyang to be returned to them. Su Yingxue refused to hand her over, and they didn't insist further. They simply sat in the clinic for a few days. As a result, even those who initially found Su Yingxue reasonable gradually began to view her as unreasonable and overbearing. Even some patients who came to the clinic advised Su Yingxue not to meddle in the affairs of the minister's estate. Since Wu Jinyang was still severely injured, Su Yingxue couldn't allow her to leave, so they didn't engage in conversation. Later on, Madame Wu fell ill directly in the clinic. Manager Qi had someone help her up and gave her some restorative pills. When Madame Wu woke up, she stared at Su Yingxue with teary eyes. "Miss Su, you were concerned that I would mistreat Jinyang, but I have been staying here for so many days just to see her. Now that you're keeping her imprisoned and preventing us from seeing each other, it's too heartless. I implore you to let me take Jinyang home." Su Yingxue truly admired the audacity of this woman, but she remained cold. "Madame Wu, this is not a theater. You should go home and sing." "Su Yingxue, my mother has begged you so much. How long do you intend to keep holding the people of the minister's estate?" Wu Ruofei shouted. Su Yingxue chose to ignore her. However, all the patients in the clinic started to join the commotion raised by the mother and daughter. "Miss Su, you've gone too far. Miss Wu is the daughter of the minister's estate. Why are you keeping her hostage?" "That's right, this is a matter of the minister's estate. You, an outsider, shouldn't meddle in it. Miss Su, please mind your own business. Allow Madame Wu to fulfill her motherly heart." "A motherly heart? Madame Wu, has she ever shown a motherly heart to me?" A weak but angry voice echoed from the stairs. Su Yingxue saw Wu Jinyang slowly descending the stairs with the support of Jilan. She furrowed her brows and hurried to assist her. Her cold gaze swept across Jilan. "Didn't I already warn you not to let Sister Jinyang get out of bed? Her injuries, Yingxue, don't blame Jilan. I insisted on coming down." Wu Jinyang held Su Yingshu's hand. Jilan pouted. Miss Jinyan's hearing is not bad. Su Yingxue tapped her head lightly. We'll settle the score later. She supported Wu Jinyang as they descended the stairs. Wu Jinyang walked up to Madame Wu, her delicate face bearing a hint of mockery. Madam, when have you ever acted as a loving mother to me in these past 10 years? How dare you say such words in front of Yingxue? Madame Wu wiped away the tears in the corners of her eyes and reached out to hold Wu Jinyan's hand. Jinyang, I know you are an outstanding person. As a daughter of a concubine, you have suffered some injustice. However, I have raised both of your sisters since you were young, treating you fairly and without bias. If Ruofei has something, you have it too. But now, after meeting Miss Su, you collude with her to harm your sister and even caused your father to be imprisoned in the capital prefecture. How can you, as a daughter, bear to do such things? The people present didn't understand Wu Jinyan's situation. They only saw the pitiful state of Madame Wu in the past few days, so they all started to curse Wu Jinyang, accusing her of being heartless. Hearing these insults, Wu Jinyang found it particularly ironic. She forcefully shook off Madame Wu's hand and took a step back, a mocking smile forming on her lips. Madame Wu, do you dare to say that you have treated me as your own all these years without any bias? Madame Wu spoke with confidence. Why wouldn't I dare? As the matriarch of the minister's estate, I have naturally been impartial. I have always been fair to my children. Chapter 95. Proof of stripping very well. Then I'll let everyone see just how fair you, the madam of a minister, truly are. Wu Jinyang shouted coldly. She untied her outer garment, revealing her skin that was partially visible beneath a sheer layer of fabric. She rolled up her sleeves and said, On my hands, there are 13 scars. They were inflicted by whipping with rattan, branding with hot iron, and piercing with steel needles. Then, she lifted the hem of her dress and continued, On my legs, there are 7 wounds, 2 of which were caused by Wu Ruofei's dagger. They are so deep that the bones are visible, and the scars haven't healed yet. And on my body, she intended to undress, but Su Yingxue quickly stopped her, saying, Sister, please don't do this. A woman's reputation was of utmost importance, and if she undressed like this, her reputation would be completely ruined. Wu Jinyang let go of Su Yingxue's hand and stared at her with teary, bloodshot eyes. Yingxue, I'm fine. Under Su Yingxue's palm were her scars, and this made her hesitate. Wu Jinyang was only wearing an undergarment, and her body was exposed to everyone. Visible to the naked eye were countless scars, causing the onlookers to gasp in shock. Someone couldn't help but whisper, This is too cruel. Does Madame Wu still want to take her back? Will she even make it back alive? Madame Wu narrowed her eyes, a storm of darkness brewing within them. Wu Ruofei couldn't contain her anger and cursed, Wu Jinyang, you have no shame. The minister's estate also has its reputation to uphold. You've tarnished father's reputation, and I swear I'll kill you. If it weren't for her broken legs, she would have rushed forward and pressed Wu Jinyan's head against a blade. How could she dare to do something so disgraceful? Wu Jinyang trembled all over, tears of hatred welling up in the corners of her eyes. As daughters of the minister's estate, what gives you the right to strike me? Just because you're a bitch born to a despicable woman. Wu Ruofei sneered with arrogance. She had always looked down upon Wu Jinyan's lowly birth and felt that she didn't deserve any respect in her presence. That was why she couldn't stand seeing her happy. Wu Jinyang approached her, raised her hand high, and slapped her hard across the face. Smack. Wu Ruofei, you have no right to insult my mother. Despite her humble background, she is a kind-hearted woman. And what about you, with your noble birth? You're arrogant, extravagant, and disregarding human life. You're not worthy of being the legitimate daughter of the minister's estate. She's not worthy, but are you? Madame Wu pushed Wu Jinyang away, her eyes filled with contempt from head to toe. Wu Jinyang, even if the minister's estate treated you poorly, we have raised you for over a decade. But today, you dare to undress in public, shaming yourself and tarnishing the reputation of the minister's estate. Our minister's estate will not accept a daughter like you. The minister's estate doesn't accept me. Wu Jinyang laughed heartily. Perfect. I also have no intention of returning to that filthy place. From this day forward, Wu Jinyang has no connection to the minister's estate. Madam Wu, there's no need for your hypocritical sympathy and to disturb the entire clinic. Jinyang, it is you who wants to sever ties with the minister's estate. I didn't force you. Our minister's estate is an esteemed and noble family. The children in our family are all exceptional individuals. You are truly unworthy of being a child of the minister's estate. Madam Wu's eyes were filled with cold disdain as she looked down on Wu Jinyang from head to toe. Meanwhile, she embraced Wu Ruofei in her arms, treating her like a treasure. You have no right to insult Yang. Su Hao hurriedly arrived, wearing his battle armor with an imposing presence. His brows exuded a sense of anger. He took off his cloak and draped it over Wu Jinyang, embracing her frail body. Yang, don't be afraid. Chapter 96. Slap the face. Wu Jinyang's heart felt like a withered spring, but with Su Hao's arrival, a warm current surged within her. She couldn't help but bury her head in his embrace and cry. Wu Ruofei was furious when she saw this scene. She used her hands and feet to try and separate them. Wu Jinyang, you bitch. Who do you think you are to be with Brother Hao? You're not worthy. Let go of my Brother Hao. Brother Hao, she's just a bitch. How could you be attracted to her? Wu Ruofei yelled like a mad woman. Su Hao turned to her and glared, sternly rebuking, shut up. You have no right to insult Yang. She is 100 times more noble than you. Wu Ruofei had liked Su Hao for a long time, and even catching a glimpse of him would make her ecstatic for half a day. But now he rejected her and said that she was not as noble as Wu Jinyang, causing her to burst into tears. Sob, sob. Brother Hao, how could you say that about me? Wu Jinyang is just a bitch. What's so good about her? Why do you like her and not me? Ruofei, General Su is a young hero, full of youthful vigor. It's possible for him to be temporarily captivated by a seductive woman. After all, as a legitimate daughter of the minister's estate like you would never strip off your clothes in public. Madam Wu consoled Wu Ruofei, a hint of derision in the corner of her mouth. Su Hao's arrival did not restore Wu Jinyang's reputation. It only made people think that Wu Jinyang, a wretch, could seduce even a renowned young general like Su Hao. A wretch would always be a wretch. Su Hao clenched his fists. Yang wanted everyone to see how cruel you and your daughter are. The wounds on her body are all thanks to you. If it weren't for you, Yang wouldn't have been tormented like this. And yet, you dare to come here and make things difficult for her. General Su, don't be so angry. You're young and promising, but you've been bewitched. There will come a day when you wake up and realize that lowly women will always be lowly. Only women like our Ruofei are worthy of becoming your wife. Madam Wu provocatively smiled. The sharpness in her eyes was like a knife hovering over Wu Jinyang's heart. This was said to make her understand that no matter how she struggled, she couldn't escape her lowly status. Su Hao and she were worlds apart. Wu Jinyang felt empty inside, and her head became dizzy, almost on the verge of fainting. You're wrong. In this lifetime, I, Su Hao, will marry Yang, and Yang alone. What does it matter if she's the daughter of a minister? In my eyes, you can't even compare to a single strand of Yang's hair. Su Hao held Wu Jinyang tightly, his heart aching. He didn't dare exert any force on her frail body, as if she would crumble in his arms if he did. General Su, you keep calling her Yang as if she's been seducing you for quite some time. However, wretches will always remain improper. For the sake of the Marquise manor and the old general's face, it's better for General Su to sever ties with this wretch sooner rather than later. Madam Wu's eyes were filled with contempt. Since she couldn't take Wu Jinyang away today, she might as well completely ruin her, so that she would have no face to continue living in this world. Wait a moment, Madam Wu. Are you suggesting that the person who seduced my brother is a wretch? Su Yingshu's lips curled into a smile. Madam Wu immediately grew wary. What do you mean, Miss Su? Su Yingshu pointed at Wu Ruofei and loudly addressed the crowd. Did everyone hear just now how Sister Jinyang referred to my brother? And how did this esteemed legitimate daughter, born to the minister's wife, address my brother? Chapter 97. Have you seen it before? Wu Ruofei didn't realize that this was a scheme to provoke her and eagerly jumped into Su Yingshu's trap. What's wrong with me calling him Brother Hao? Su Yingxue, what does it have to do with you? Madame Wu quickly covered her mouth and gave her a stern glare. Shut up. Is it appropriate for a young girl like you to address him like that? Su Yingxue wore a nonchalant smile with a hint of satisfaction. Everyone heard it. The esteemed legitimate daughter of the minister's estate addressed my brother so intimately, even though they are not familiar with each other. In fact, my brother might not even know her name. Yet, she seduces him like this. Earlier, Madame Wu scolded Sister Jinyang. Does that mean she has good control over her legitimate daughter? What gives you, Miss Su, the right to twist the truth? How can a form of address be considered seduction? Madame Wu's eyes sparkled with coldness. If a form of address isn't considered seduction, then what about the love letters, handkerchiefs, and jewelry sachets that Miss Wu wrote and gave to my brother? Are those not considered seduction? Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. Su Yingxue, don't spew baseless accusations and tarnish my daughter's innocence. Madame Wu became angry. She glanced at Wu Ruofei, who appeared guilty. It was evident that Su Yingxue wasn't speaking nonsense. She had done such a thing. Wu Ruofei bit her lip. I like Brother Hao, so I gave him those things. You fool, keep quiet. Madame Wu scolded her, disappointed. Amidst the mocking and laughing gazes of everyone present, she angrily left with Wu Ruofei. Before leaving, Wu Ruofei couldn't help but cast a reluctant gaze at Su Hao. However, Su Hao didn't spare her a glance. In his eyes, there was only the seriously injured Wu Jinyang. Su Yingxue dispersed the crowd, and Su Hao carried Wu Jinyang upstairs. After placing Wu Jinyang on the bed, Su Yingxue saw her brother, a tall and sturdy young man, with teary eyes in front of Wu Jinyan's bed. Su Hao held Wu Jinyan's hand tenderly. Younger, marry me. I will protect you with all my heart. I don't want to, Wu Jinyang sobbed, turning around and burying herself under the blanket. No matter what Su Hao said, she refused to look at him again. Brother, let Sister Jinyang rest well. Come out with me, Su Yingxue said, exerting a great effort to pull Su Hao out. Su Hao was hot-blooded, but he only knew how to rush to Wu Jinyan's side to protect her. However, he had no idea how to heal her wounded heart. Brother, instead of staying with Sister Jinyang now, why don't you let her calm down and get a good sleep? Su Yingxue advised him. Su Hao couldn't calm down for a long time. I can't let her go. She has so many physical and emotional wounds. Now that she has severed ties with the minister's estate, she needs someone to protect her. I can protect Sister Jinyang, but brother, don't overprotect her for now. Sister Jinyang might end up getting hurt because of it. Su Yingxue saw this more clearly than Su Hao did. Why? Su Hao was puzzled. When you came to protect Sister Jinyang earlier, she was touched, but it also hurt her. She doesn't want to expose her battered appearance to you, Su Yingxue explained. A bitter smile formed on Su Hao's lips. In the past, she let me see it. At that time, she never guarded herself against me. But now, I've hurt her. Have you seen it before? You too, Su Yingxue was surprised. Her brother was a paragon of virtue, abstaining from vices like eating, drinking, gambling, and smoking. He had better control over his desires and emotions than the monks in a temple. Chapter 98. A man's charm. She had always thought that she was her brother's only weakness. She never expected the development between her brother and Wu Jinyang. What are you thinking? Su Hao tapped Su Yingxue's head. Younger isn't that kind of girl. At that time, she was encouraging me to keep going. Su Hao recalled the first time he met Wu Jinyang. She had gone into the mountains to gather herbs and came across him, heavily injured. He was covered in blood, but she didn't mind and saved his life, hiding him in a cave to recover. At that time, she was innocent and straightforward. He was worried about the injuries all over his body and refused to let her take off his clothes to apply the medicine. For his life, she took off her clothes and let him see that she was also covered in injuries. There was nothing to be embarrassed about. So, he agreed to let off his clothes. While Wu Jinyang was applying medicine to his wounds, he couldn't help but ask, "How could a young girl like you have so many injuries?" Wu Jinyang smiled and replied, "Are only men allowed to be injured in this world? As a woman, I can bear many wounds. Do you think you, a towering young man, would lose to me? Of course not." Motivated by her words, Su Hao endured the excruciating pain of his injuries and the difficulties of relying solely on herbal medicine until he could leave the cave. He promised Wu Jinyang that he would grit his teeth and endure no matter how dangerous the situation was or how badly he was injured. Because of her words, he had become a young general. He had thought that he could give Wu Jinyang more and save her from her misery. But he didn't expect that their relationship would become distant. "I didn't realize there was so much going on between brother and sister Jinyang that I wasn't aware of." Su Yingxue pouted and touched her nose, pretending to be jealous. Su Hao earnestly explained, "You're different, but have I ever cared less about you?" "No." Su Yingxue firmly shook her head. Even though Su Hao liked Wu Jinyang, he had always been good to Su Yingxue, whether in their past or present lives. So she wasn't worried at all that once Wu Jinyang became her sister-in-law, Su Hao would treat her unfairly. She led Su Hao away and carefully analyzed the situation for him. "Sister Jinyang will make herself better. I will accompany her, but right now, the problem is how to help her resolve her anger toward the minister's estate. She's usually so composed, but today she went all out. It shows how long she has endured and how difficult it has been for her." Su Yingxue wasn't joking around with Su Hao. If Su Hao hadn't shown up, she would have gone to the minister's estate with Zi Wei and quietly taken care of the matter. But now that Su Hao was here, she couldn't steal his task. She was also worried that Su Hao might be too upright and could not think of any schemes to make things difficult for women, or that he would not do it. Unexpectedly, after pondering for a moment, Su Hao patted her head. "I know what to do." "What? What are you going to do, brother?" Su Yingxue's mischievous eyes revealed a curious expression. Su Hao left her hanging. "You'll find out when the time comes." Su Yingxue was speechless. Why were men so mysterious and charming? She looked at Su Hao's back. Wasn't he incredibly handsome? And that ninth prince, although he always looked serious, he was shameless. Su Yingxue patted her head. "Why am I thinking about him again?" She forced herself to find something else to do and went to the backyard where her mother's belongings were kept. There were many ancient medical books there, and she hadn't finished reading them. She randomly picked one up to read. Chapter 99, Feed Zi Wei candy. Flipping to a page, it was a picture of a human skeleton. Su Yingxue was startled for a moment. But as she analyzed it seriously, she found herself captivated by it. Buried in the room, she kept reading throughout the night until dawn, and eventually fell asleep on the table, exhausted. When she woke up, the sun was already high in the sky. She felt a slight weight on her body and looked up to see a slender figure standing upright in front of her, blocking the sunlight that was shining on her. Su Yingxue glanced at her clothes and then at Zi Wei, who was only wearing an undershirt. She licked her lips. "Aren't you cold?" Zi Wei maintained a stoic expression. "No." Su Yingxue felt a bit embarrassed. "Actually, you don't have to take care of me like this. I won't catch a cold even if I take a nap." Zi Wei's eyes flickered, and the purple color at the corner deepened as if he was questioning Su Yingxue. Then he said, "You will." Su Yingxue was speechless. Well, normal communication was impossible. But his intention made her want to reward him with a bowl of medicine. After entering Medicine King's Valley, Su Yingxue made him 2 bowls of medicine, one for detoxification and the other for recuperation. She placed the bowls in front of Zi Wei and raised an eyebrow. "Drink up. Finish both bowls, not a drop left." Zi Wei, who was usually decisive and efficient, hesitated and didn't make a move. Sitting in front of him, Su Yingxue stared at him. "What's wrong?" "Afraid it's too hot. The medicine is most effective when consumed while it's still warm." Zi Wei's eyes showed signs of struggle. Su Yingxue took out 3 silver needles and threatened him. "Do you want to drink it or not? If you don't, I'll knock you unconscious and force it down your throat." Zi Wei's expression remained calm. "You won't be able to prick me. Come here. Su Yingxue became angry and slammed the table. Obediently, Ziwei sat beside her. Su Yingxue held the needle against his neck and sneered. Can I prick you? Ziwei shifted his gaze. Yes. Then can you drink the medicine properly? After a long silence, Ziwei uttered a hoarse syllable, bitter. Su Yingxue was confused. You, who kill people mercilessly and lick the blood off your blade, are afraid of bitterness. Su Yingxue thought. She was very doubtful. But as she looked into Ziwei's eyes, she knew he wouldn't lie. Su Yingxue covered her mouth, but couldn't contain her laughter. She stood up briskly. Wait for me here. After saying that, she rushed out like the wind and returned in the same manner. When she came back, she held a paper package in her hand. It was a bag of candy. Su Yingxue reached out and stuffed a piece of candy into Ziwei's mouth. Is it sweet? She tilted her head, her tousled hair floating around her rosy cheeks, resembling an adorable little fox. Ziwei's ears turned slightly red. Sweet. Then drink your medicine first and cat the candy later. Su Yingxue placed the 2 bowls of medicine in front of Ziwei, coercing and tempting him. After you finish the medicine, you'll get to have candy. If you don't drink it, it'll knock you out and pour it down your throat. Efficiently, Ziwei finished both bowls of medicine, not leaving a single drop. Then, Su Yingxue gave him 2 candies. She could see that after eating the candy, his complexion wasn't as gloomy and dreadful. Originally, she wanted to give him the whole bag of candies in her hand. But after some thought, she tucked it away. I'll give you more next time to prevent you from neglecting the medicine again. Ziwei's heart skipped a beat. Lowering his head, he spoke slowly, okay. As Su Yingxue left, she encountered the person sent by Liang Jin. The person informed her, Lord Wu has been subjected to wooden paddle punishment, and his body is unable to bear it. Lord Liang has to postpone the trial. During this period, I hope Miss Su will behave and wait for Lord Liang's summons. Chapter 100. Su Hao's plan. Su Yingxue politely nodded in response. Please inform Lord Liang that I will indeed comply. I won't cause any trouble. However, I would like to inquire about Lord Wu's condition. The person remained tight-lipped. Lord Wu is currently resting in bed. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Su Yingxue saw him off and thought to herself that even though he didn't explicitly mention Wu Hongtao's condition, the fact that Liang Jin, with his swift and decisive nature, was delaying the court session for him indicated that his injuries were likely severe. Su Yingxue smirked. This provided her with an opportunity to make some preparations. She took Ziwei to the minister's estate and headed straight to Wu Hongtao's study. Ziwei stood guard outside the door while Su Yingxue thoroughly searched the study. Among the hidden compartments in the bookcase, she found 2 account books. Upon opening them, Su Yingxue's lips curved up in satisfaction. With these account books, it would be impossible for Wu Hongtao to defeat her. The account books provided detailed records of Wu Hongtao's embezzlement and bribery over the years, documenting treasures and wealth that amounted to 10 or even 100 times his official salary. In his previous life, Wu Hongtao was exiled because of this account book. However, that was a matter that would happen a few years later. Now that Wu Hongtao had provoked her in advance, she had something on him in her hands in advance to see what he could do. Su Yingxue took the account book and was about to leave, but she heard the servant girl who was delivering the medicine to Wu Ruofei whispering along the way, so she followed curiously. Ziwei followed behind her without being noticed by anyone. Su Yingxue and Ziwei crouched on the rooftop above Wu Ruofei's room, eavesdropping as Madame Wu cheerfully rewarded her servant girls. The maids who attended Wu Ruofei received their rewards with joyous expressions. Even Wu Ruofei, who had been humiliated the previous day, lay on the bed with a happy countenance. Su Yingxue couldn't help but wonder why Wu Hongtao being imprisoned in the capital prefecture would bring such happiness to mother and daughter. Madame Wu fed Wu Ruofei her medicine and reassured her, Feiya, focus on recovering from your injuries. Your mother will take care of your father's matters. Moreover, your 2 brothers have excelled and been selected as candidates for the Black Cloud Cavalry. Once they establish themselves within the ranks of the Black Cloud Cavalry, Our Wu family will be filled with honor, both in civil and military spheres. By then, many respectable families will come seeking your hand in marriage. Mother, I don't want a respectable family. I want Brother Hao. I only want Brother Hao. Wu Ruofei clung to Madame Wu's hand and acted coquettishly. What's so special about that Su Hao? He's a man who lacks charm, and has even attracted to Wu Jinyang. Given his taste, why are you fixated on him? Madame Wu's eyes were filled with disgust. Even if Su Hao was exceptional, the fact that he was interested in Wu Jinyang but not her daughter made her unwilling to see Wu Ruofei marry him in the future. Brother Hao is so handsome and powerful. I don't care. I want to marry Brother Hao. Moreover, I want to be his lawful wife. If that Wu Jinyang dares to bother him again in the future, I'll kill her right in front of Brother Hao. Wu Ruofei appeared innocent but had a fierce look in her eyes. Su Yingxue sighed and clicked her tongue. A rabbit that hadn't even grown its full fur, yet it considered itself a fierce tigress capable of commanding the winds and rains. Truly, those who were spoiled often turned out to be fools. However, Madame Wu's mention of her 2 sons being chosen for the Black Cloud Cavalry raised suspicions in Su Yingxue's mind. On their way back, Su Yingxue asked Ziwei, "Have you heard of the Black Cloud Cavalry?" Ziwei nodded. They are the elite soldiers of the dynasty, revered as divine martial warriors. Chapter 101. Humiliating the Wu family. Su Yingxue said, "That's right. My brother is indeed a member of the Black Cloud Cavalry. However, the selection process for the Black Cloud Cavalry is rigorous. Even as a candidate, one must have a clean family background and be highly skilled in martial arts. Wu Hongtao's 2 sons have never been well known, so how could they suddenly be selected as candidates for the Black Cloud Cavalry? Is it a stroke of luck for the Wu family? Your brother." Ziwei's hoarse voice pierced Su Yingxue like a needle. Su Yingxue suddenly understood and said, "So, my brother has his way to handle this." While Wu Hongtao's trial had not begun yet, Su Yingxue was currently being detained in the capital prefecture. Su Yingxue was fully occupied with managing the medical clinic when suddenly she heard some commotion on the street. She asked Jilan to go out and see what was happening. After Jilan went out to inquire, she came back with excitement. "Miss, after you finish attending to the patient, you should personally go and take a look. Don't forget to inform Miss Jinyang." Jilan winked, leaving her in suspense. Su Yingxue thought to herself that this girl had been getting more creative lately. She had just finished seeing a patient. After she wrote the prescription, she went to the neighboring room to see Wu Jinyang. Wu Jinyang was sitting on the bed, lost in thought, with her brows tightly furrowed. Su Yingxue helped her up, saying, "Jilan mentioned that there's something lively happening on the street. Sister, let's go and see." Wu Jinyang continued to frown. "I'm not interested." "Since it's a lively event, it wouldn't hurt to take a look," Su Yingxue said as she supported Wu Jinyang and walked to the window, opening it. Wu Jinyang was initially feeling down, but when she saw Su Hao riding on a horse on the street, her eyes widened in surprise. How could he? She saw Su Hao not only riding a horse but also holding 2 ropes with 2 people tied behind him. They were her brothers, Wu Lang and Wu Ping, the 2 sons of Madame Wu. Wu Jinyang was taken aback. "What's happening?" Su Yingxue explained, "Your 2 brothers were supposed to be candidates for the Black Cloud Cavalry, but they committed a serious offense, which is why your brother is punishing them like this." The Black Cloud Cavalry was the most formidable troop in the Great Cheng dynasty. Even someone as skilled as Su Hao was just a captain, highlighting how stringent their requirements were. Clearly, the 2 young masters of the minister's estate were elated to be selected as candidates for the Black Cloud Cavalry, unaware of the hardships they would face. Su Hao punished them legitimately for their mistake. Su Yingxue remembered that this was not the first time. In her memories from her previous life, Chu Yihan had once captured 10 deserters from the Black Cloud Cavalry, dragging them around the city with his fast horse and killing 3 of them. At that time, Chu Yihan earned a reputation for being ruthless and merciless, not realizing that as elite soldiers of the country, they could not afford any errors. Otherwise, when the country faced danger and needed their intervention, they might defect or prove incompetent, causing the dynasty's last line of defense to crumble, leading to the fall of the kingdom and bringing untold disasters. Consequently, the Great Cheng dynasty had exceptionally high standards for its military. Su Hao's move was truly ingenious. The Wu family could never have imagined that not only would they fail to attain honor, but they would also lose their standing and reputation. Su Yingxue and Wu Jinyang observed from upstairs. Su Hao was dragging Wu Lang and Wu Ping, shouting, "As members of the Black Cloud Cavalry, you betrayed us halfway. You deserve to be punished." Wu Lang and Wu Ping appeared spineless as Su Hao dragged them, crying and begging for mercy all the way. They wished they could kneel and plead with Su Hao to spare them. Su Hao led them through the streets, and the people looked at them with disdain. Chapter 102, handing it over to Wu Jinyang. When they passed by the minister's estate, Madame Wu rushed out and quickly embraced her two sons, her heart bleeding with anguish. "General Su is too heartless. Even if they made a mistake, you should show some leniency. As the captain of the Black Cloud Cavalry, I should set an example." These two neglected their training and defected from the camp, tarnishing the reputation of the Black Cloud Cavalry. They should be executed. Su Hao's handsome face was filled with cold determination. Madame Wu was almost fainting from fear. Wu Lang and Wu Ping clung to Madame Wu, shouting, "Mother, save us. Save us. The military camp is too harsh. We can't endure it. Mother, help. Mother, my sons, my sons." Madame Wu cried and glared at Su Hao with hatred. "It's you. You deliberately recruited my sons and made things difficult for them, all because of that little wench, Wu Jinyang. Madam, please watch your words. The Black Cloud Cavalry never forces anyone to join. If they were unwilling, the Black Cloud Cavalry would not coerce them. But since they chose to join the military camp and harbored the intention to run away, our Great Cheng dynasty cannot tolerate such cowardice. From now on, they will no longer have the qualification to serve in the military camp." Su Hao's voice was resolute. As a result, Wu Lang and Wu Ping's paths as generals were cut off. Even if they wanted to serve in a low-ranking position, they would not be allowed. With a criminal record, their future careers were ruined. "No, my sons would never, my children." Madame Wu fainted due to the shock. Su Hao continued to lead Wu Lang and Wu Ping around the city as a warning to soldiers and civilians. Su Yingxue supported Wu Jinyang as they walked, allowing her to witness the dilapidated state of the minister's estate. She asked in a low voice, "Sister, do you feel better now?" Wu Jinyang smiled with a hint of sadness. "Certainly." Su Yingxue smiled. "Then let me help you back." Wu Jinyang followed her silently back to rest. The minister's estate, where she had lived and grown up for over a decade, was behind her. However, she had always lived in the shadowy part of the minister's estate. Its glory and grandeur had nothing to do with her. Today, the humiliation and downfall of the minister's estate had nothing to do with her. Finally, she had achieved her freedom. Wu Jinyang originally thought that Su Yingxue was taking her back to the clinic, but as they walked, they arrived at a storefront. It was located opposite the clinic and had a prime location. Wu Jinyang looked puzzled and asked, "Why did you bring me here?" Su Yingxue showed her around the shop, both upstairs and downstairs. "Sister, look at this shop. What can we do?" Wu Jinyang looked around the shop. There were more than 10 rooms, and the first floor's hall was spacious enough to accommodate dozens of people. The space was ample and excellent. However, she furrowed her brows. "This place is good, but using it for a clinic might not be appropriate. Firstly, it's too close to Tongchang Medical Center. Secondly, the rent here must be high. If we don't use it for business, we might suffer losses. Sister, you have foresight and ideas. So, I'll leave this place to you to do business. There shouldn't be any problems." Su Yingxue smiled. "What? You want me to run a business here? One can't do that." Wu Jinyang immediately shook her head. This investment and expenses were significant, and she couldn't let Su Yingxue incur such a substantial loss. "Sister, don't rush to refuse. Let me ask you, you are familiar with spices and very interested in the production of cosmetics like rouge and powder. You have a pair of skillful hands and a clever mind. If I hand over the storefront to you, What would you use it for? Chapter 103, Chance for Women. Wu Jinyang thought for a moment and said, naturally, one would open a rouge and cosmetic shop. However, a shop of this size is too small, and the income wouldn't be ideal. Moreover, hiring experienced and skilled personnel would require careful arrangements. Su Yingxue patted her hand confidently and said, then I'll leave the shop and the arrangements to you, sister. You bought this shop for me, Yingxue? Wu Jinyang felt a hint of guilt and a sense of inferiority she couldn't explain. Although she was humble, she had been self-reliant since she was young. She had done favors to others, but she rarely received favors from others. This would make her feel that she was useless. It was true that she had cut off all ties with the minister's estate, so she was indeed no great use. Su Yingxue looked at Wu Jinyang seriously and clarified, no, I did it to make money. Sister, you know that for a woman to establish herself in the world, she must first have the property. Wu Jinyang's admiration for Su Yingxue grew even more. She could see things more clearly than most women, and that quality was indeed important. In this world, even if a man was born into a humble family, he could still rely on his abilities to make a name for himself. However, it was much more difficult for women. From birth, their destinies were largely determined. Before marriage, they relied on their parents' family background, and after marriage, they depended on their husbands. They couldn't strive openly and didn't have the same opportunities to compete on equal terms with men. Su Yingxue was born in a marquise manor and should have enjoyed a lofty position, but her foresight and advanced thinking were admirable and made her more attractive to spend time with. However, Wu Jinyang still had some concerns. Although I'm familiar with spices and have some knowledge of rouge and cosmetics, this shop is too big. Starting construction will be a considerable expense, and if I can't make it profitable, Sister Jinyang, you dared to sever ties with the minister's estate and leave on your own. Don't you have the courage to manage a shop well? Or are you worried that if my brother finds out that one gave you the shop, it would damage your image in front of him? Su Yingxue pointed out directly. Wu Jinyang blushed slightly. That's true. So, Sister Jinyang, you will manage this place well and prove to my brother that he is a young general and that you are not weak, right? Su Yingxue's words struck a chord in Wu Jinyang's heart. Since the day she found out about Su Hao's identity, she had felt inferior. Why didn't she have a noble status like Wu Ruofei? If she did, she believed she could be with Su Hao. However, she thought of her mother who loved her very much. Even though her mother was born into a prostitute family and had a humble status, she was still a proud woman. She had taught her since she was young that a woman should have a backbone and be independent. Therefore, even if her identity was worlds apart from Su Hao's, she had never completely given up. Now that she had the opportunity, she naturally wanted to give it a try. Looking at Su Yingxue with gratitude, Wu Jinyang said, as long as you trust me, I won't let you down. No wonder my brother likes you so much, Sister Jinyang. Your courage and determination are no less than a man's. Su Yingxue smiled. After they looked around the shop, they returned to the clinic. Although Wu Jinyang was eager to seize the opportunity, Su Yingxue didn't want her to work too hard. At the very least, she had to let her recover before she opened the shop. Wu Jinyang had not been idle over the past few days. She began to plan and arrange the shop. Chapter 104. The first female patient. When Su Yingxue was chatting with Wu Jinyang, she made a suggestion. Since you have the reputation of a genius doctor, you can also benefit the women of the great Cheng dynasty. Many noble women and princesses need medical treatment, but the number of female doctors is too few. You can set a specific day to specialize in diagnosing and treating women. This way, you can promote your reputation and also. Wu Jinyang's eyes glinted with a trace of cunning. Most of the rumors and gossip in society are spread by women. If you can cure their ailments, they will flatter and fawn over you, and they won't target you anymore. Su Yingxue nodded, touching her chin, and said, Sister Jinyang's idea is indeed reasonable. For example, there are many women like Wu Ruofei from the minister's estate. If I can make them wary, even if they have any malicious intentions, they will have to think twice. Wu Jinyang smiled. Exactly. Moreover, by gaining the favor of all the noble women in the great Cheng dynasty, you will find it easier to pursue whatever you desire in the future. Su Yingxue organized Wu Jinyan's thoughts and asked manager Qi to put up a sign outside. On every 1st and 15th day of the month, she would exclusively diagnose and treat women. As soon as the sign was displayed, people lined up for several days to get a number. While Liang Jin's court was not yet open, Su Yingxue had already started her consultation day, exclusively treating women. However, her first patient turned out to be none other than Su Yuro. The plaque in Su Yingxue's hand read Lin Cece, but the woman in front of her was Su Yuro. Su Yingxue gave Su Yuro a cold glance. "What's your problem?" Su Yuro was dressed in a white gown, and her hair was adorned with beautiful tassels that made a soft sound when she moved her head slightly. She showed a hint of grievance on her fair little face. "Sister, do you not welcome me? I haven't seen my sister for so long, and I've missed you. If you have something to say, say it. Otherwise, get out." Su Yingxue's tone was chilly. She had little patience for dealing with pretentious and hypocritical people. "I came here to see you, sister, as you are consulting," Su Yuro replied. "The root of your problem lies in your head, and it can't be cured in a short time. If you insist on treatment, I might have to crack your head open with a hammer to see what's going on inside." "Will you be treated then?" Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. Su Yuro's face turned pale, aware that Su Yingxue was just threatening her, yet she couldn't help but feel intimidated. Cracking her head open with a hammer, she composed herself and forced a smile. "I'm here with Cece. She's waiting outside. I'll let her in first." "You, get out and let the patient in," Su Yingxue said bluntly. Su Yuro gritted her teeth in her heart. If Su Yingxue continued to act arrogantly, she would pay dearly if she couldn't cure Lin Cece later. She put on a smile and went outside to call, "Cece, come in quickly. My sister is a renowned genius doctor. She will surely cure you." Then, a woman in a green outfit walked in. Although her attire indicated she was a noble lady from a prestigious family, her face, Su Yingxue was taken aback. Her face was covered with pimples and marks, resembling a rice field with young seedlings. Lin Cece needed the courage to come out. When she saw Su Yingxue's expression mirroring others, she immediately became angry and swung her whip at Su Yingxue. "What are you looking at? You think him ugly too, don't you?" Su Yingxue evaded her whip, furrowing her brows. She immediately realized that her temper was not great. She was easily agitated and had excessive internal heat, which could be strongly related to the pimples on her face. Chapter 105, Hereditary Disease. After thinking about this, she kindly advised, "If you want treatment, first put down the whip, then take 3 deep breaths to calm yourself down before we talk about your diagnosis." Lin Cece's face swelled with anger, gripping the whip tightly, and glaring at her. "Let go of the whip. No way. If you dare to look down on me, despise me, 111 whip you to death first." Su Yuro smirked on the side, reveling in schadenfreude. Lin Cece was the only daughter of the great general of the Flying Rider, and she had been arrogant and domineering since she was young. The lingering scars on her face made her temper even more explosive. Anyone who spoke impolitely to her would be immediately beaten up. Whether Su Yingxue could cure her was a different matter. With Lin Cece's temper, she would undoubtedly get a beating first. Imagining Su Yingxue getting beaten up made Su Yuro feel exceptionally satisfied. Su Yingxue completely ignored Su Yuro's malicious delight and stared seriously at Lin Cece. "If you don't put down the whip, your face and your illness will never improve." Lin Cece felt attacked and instinctively tried to whip Su Yingxue, but this time, Su Yingxue caught her whip, pulled her over with incredible strength, twisted the whip, threw it aside, and forcefully pushed her down on a chair. "All!" Lin Cece cried out as a needle was inserted into the back of her neck, draining all her strength. "Sister, what are you doing? Cece is the only daughter of Great General Lin. If anything happens to her, even our Marquise Manor won't protect you." Su Yuro shouted nervously, causing Lin Cece, who was already agitated, to use even more force to try and break free from the acupoints sealed by Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue injected her again and said coldly, If you keep struggling, your blood will flow backward, and your meridians will be severed, and you will die. Lin Cece's face turned even paler. Sister, how could you treat Cece like this? If something happens to her, General Lin won't let us off. Su Yuro was terrified, covering her face and almost crying. Su Yingxue was annoyed by her voice, so she clapped her hands and ordered, Ziwei, throw her out. Yes. Ziwei flashed like the wind, picked up Su Yuro, and threw her onto the street. Su Yingxue heard her screams from inside the consultation room and nodded in satisfaction before closing the door and having Ziwei stand guard outside. Lin Cece was being controlled by her, and a fear that she had never felt before swept through her. Su Yingxue, what are you planning to do? If you dare to touch me, my father will kill you. Su Yingxue held her hand to take her pulse, asking indifferently, is your father, General Lin, also hot-tempered and easily angered? Is that why he taught you to use violence whenever you dislike someone, without any scruples? Lin Cece gritted her teeth and said, so what? Su Yingxue, let me tell you, just because you're the daughter of the Marquise Manor doesn't mean our Lin family will fear you. My parents only have me as their daughter. If you dare to harm me, they will tear down the Marquise Manor. Fine, go ahead and demolish the Marquise Manor if you wish. In any case, the one who will die young and explode won't be anyone from the Marquise Manor. After finishing taking her pulse, Su Yingxue sat opposite Lin Cece. Isla words stunned Lin Cece. You. How did you know? Su Yingxue raised her head, her eyes clear and insightful. Your grandfather didn't live past the age of 40, and your father's health is gradually declining. Based on your family's inheritance, you might die earlier than your grandfather and father did. Chapter 106. General Lin came looking for him. Lin Cece's face turned as white as a freshly painted wall, and she stammered, You. Can you save me? Yes, but the condition is that you must never use the whip again. Su Yingxue tossed Lin Cece's whip to the side. Su Yuro, covered in dirt from being thrown out, wanted to go back in. But when she saw the man holding a sword, she felt a deep sense of fear. Gritting her teeth, she got up and rushed towards the Lin Manor. Great General Lin Aotian had a hot temper and doted on his only daughter. When he heard that Su Yingxue had held Lin Cece hostage in the medical hall, he was infuriated. This is unacceptable. How dare Su Yingxue kidnap my daughter? I'll take her life. Su Yuro shivered slightly. Whenever she saw Lin Aotian's face turn red in anger, her eyes sparkled. It was just like Lin Cece. She was secretly delighted and said in a soft voice, General Lin, if my sister has offended you in any way, please don't blame the Marquise Manor. After all, she is still young, and her medical skills might not be perfect. If she's not good at medicine, why is she running a clinic? How dare she treat my daughter? If anything happens to Cece under her care, I'll tear down her clinic and skin her alive. Lin Aotian grabbed his 9-ringed saber and stormed toward the clinic. Su Yuro followed him, wearing a triumphant smile. As Lin Aotian entered the clinic, he roared, Su Yingxue, hand over my daughter. His shout frightened many patients, and Manager Qi hurriedly came out to persuade him, General, please calm down. Dr. Su is treating a patient alone. Please wait for a moment. Seeing Lin Aotian's enraged face, Manager Qi felt a chill down his spine. It was as if he was facing a living deity like Guan Gong warding off evil spirits on the door. Lin Aotian picked Manager Qi up, his face flushing with anger. Tell Su Yingxue to hand over my daughter, or I'll kill her. General, please calm down, please calm down. Manager Qi's old bones were on the verge of breaking apart. Lin Aotian didn't bother explaining and simply threw him out. Manager Qi felt like he was about to be crushed, but a swift figure caught him. Ziwei placed him gently on the ground, and Manager Qi covered his heart, tears streaming down his face. Thank you, brother. Ziwei nodded. Then, Ziwei rushed forward and blocked Lin Aotian, who was about to charge into Su Yingxue's treatment room. Lin Aotian roared, Get out of the way, you brat. Ziwei remained motionless. Lin Aotian grabbed his shoulder, intending to toss him out as he did with Manager Qi. But no matter how much force he used, he couldn't lift Ziwei. Not only was Ziwei not tall, but he also had slender shoulders. But when he moved his shoulders, an invisible force emerged, causing Lin Aotian's fingers to go numb. Lin Aotian stared in disbelief. This man possessed profound internal strength, and his martial arts surpassed his own. However, Lin Aotian's concern for his daughter outweighed everything else. He didn't care about the man's strength and swung his knife at him. Ziwei swiftly moved behind him, and with a cold sword drawn, he cut off a strand of his hair from the end. The sword grazed Lin Aotian's face, leaving a shallow cut. Lin Aotian screamed, "All!" He covered the left side of his face, his hand smeared with blood. He looked at Ziwei with a complex expression. This man was incredibly powerful. If Lin Aotian had used a bit more force, Ziwei might have sliced off half of his head. Su Yuro covered her mouth, unable to believe that Su Yingxue had such a powerful martial artist by her side. Her eyes darted around, and she cried out in fear. "Sister, please show mercy. If something happens to General Lin and his daughter, you'll be guilty of murder. Even Grandpa won't be able to protect you." Chapter 107, She's a Genius Doctor. Her shout further fueled the anger in Lin Aotian's heart, and he rushed over to fight with Ziwei. Other onlookers were taken aback, thinking that Su Yingxue was too audacious. She dared to confront General Lin and his daughter. Ziwei knew that Su Yingxue wouldn't let him kill the man, so he merely engaged in combat without attempting to kill. However, Lin Aotian's every move was deadly, and Ziwei's eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty coldness. With a single sword thrust, he could pierce through Lin Aotian's heart. Just as he was about to deliver the fatal blow, Su Yingxue's voice rang out, "Ziwei, stop." Whoosh! The sword's edge whistled past, but Ziwei quickly retracted his attack. Wherever his sword passed, 3 tables and chairs were shattered into pieces. Lin Aotian's heart was trembling. If Su Yingxue hadn't stopped Ziwei, he would have been killed. Su Yingxue patted Ziwei's shoulder, instructing him to back off. Ziwei, who had been emanating a chilling killing intent that even frightened Lin Aotian, now seemed like an obedient child, and he immediately disappeared from the medical hall. Lin Aotian couldn't even figure out where he went. "General Lin, let's talk things through. Your impatient temper is detrimental to your health. It's better to be more gentle." Su Yingxue kindly had someone help Lin Aotian and even bandaged him to stop the bleeding. Lin Aotian sneered. "Bah! A kid like you dares to lecture me, a seasoned general. Where is my Cece? What did you do to her? If she's even slightly harmed, 111 take your life." Seizing the opportunity, Su Yuro pretended to show concern. "Yes, sister, Cece came in fine. You mustn't let anything happen to her. You should return her safely to General Lin." "Of course." Su Yingxue smiled at Su Yuro. That smile sent a shiver down Su Yuro's spine, and she began to doubt. Could it be that Su Yingxue had cured Lin Cece? Quickly, Su Yuro dismissed such thoughts. She knew that Lin Cece's illness was hereditary, passed down through generations, and many renowned physicians and imperial doctors had tried to cure her, all in vain. How could Su Yingxue, who seemed so strange, possibly succeed? No, that was impossible. She followed Lin Aotian into Su Yingxue's treatment room. Lin Cece was lying on the treatment bed. When Lin Aotian saw her, he rushed over and held her hand like a precious gem. "Cece, are you all right? My precious daughter, if anything happens to you, it'll kill Su Yingxue." Just as Su Yuro was about to gloat, she heard Lin Cece reprimand her father. "Father, you can't harm Dr. Su. She's a genius doctor." Su Yuro was confused. Approaching with a concerned expression, she spoke softly. "Cece, if you're feeling unwell, you must tell me. Don't worry about her being my elder sister or the Marquise Manner's reputation. Your health is more important than anything." Lin Cece rolled her eyes. "What nonsense are you talking about? I'm feeling fine. After Dr. Su gave me the medicine, I felt much better." As she got up from the bed, Lin Aotian noticed that her face had undergone some changes. The pimples on her face were no longer red and swollen, and even her expression had softened. With Lin Aotian's support, Lin Cece bowed to Su Yingxue. "Dr. Su, after taking the medicine and resting, I feel much better. I trust that you can cure my illness. Lin Aotian was bewildered and asked, Cici, what's going on here? Why are you giving her such a grand bow? Are you sure taking her medicine won't harm you? Chapter 108. Kowtow and kneel to thank me, father. What are you talking about? After I took Dr. Su's medicine, one feel much more relaxed now, and am sleepy. I want to go back and rest. Lin Cici acted like a little girl, tugging at Lin Aotian affectionately. Lin Aotian was even more astonished. Lin Cici, just like him, had always had a fiery temper since she was a child, and even when she lost her temper and fought with him, her father, she had never acted so coquettish before. It was simply unbelievable. Moreover, she said, Father, our family has a hereditary disease. You should also let Dr. Su take a look at you. I'm sure she can help you sleep better. Lin Cici guided Lin Aotian to sit down on a chair and carefully implored Su Yingxue, Dr. Su, can you please treat my father as well? He is just like me. He hasn't had a proper rest for a long time, and his health has deteriorated significantly. Su Yingxue nodded. I can treat him, but General Lin has to be willing and trust me. Lin Aotian still had wounds caused by Ziwei, so it was hard for him to trust Su Yingxue. However, witnessing Lin Cici's sudden change in temper and improved complexion, and hearing her plea, Father, if we want to live a good life, we must listen to Dr. Su. Only she can save us. Seeing his daughter's request, Lin Aotian could only put down his face and put his hand on the table. If you can't cure me, I won't thank you. Su Yingxue's expression remained indifferent as she took his pulse. As expected, he had the same condition as Lin Cici. He got excessive internal heat, disorderly lifestyle, causing damage to various organs. Consequently, he couldn't control his temper, and his health was declining. Su Yingxue poured a bowl of the medicine she had prepared for Lin Cici and gave it to Lin Aotian to drink. After taking the medicine, Lin Aotian immediately felt drowsy, and the burning sensation in his heart seemed to have been extinguished by a bucket of cold water. He was now drowsy and felt like resting. It had been months since he had proper sleep, and the repeated insomnia had made him increasingly irritable. Now that he had rested here with Su Yingxue for a while, he felt much more relaxed. Lin Cici noticed that her father's flushed face gradually calmed down, and the redness in his eyes lessened. She couldn't help but shed tears of joy. Father, do you feel the same way as one do? Much better, right? Lin Aotian was still a bit groggy, but he woke up and felt that his whole body was more comfortable. Yes, much better, and I don't feel like losing my temper anymore. Lin Aotian was perplexed. He looked at Su Yingxue with even more surprise. Su Yingxue, what kind of medicine did you give us? How could it be, for generations, they had sought the expertise of numerous imperial physicians, but no one could cure this hereditary illness. And yet, today there was a significant improvement. Su Yingxue wrote 2 prescriptions for them and said calmly, your illnesses do have a hereditary history, but what's more important is for both of you to cultivate your character and control your temper to improve your health. Otherwise, your lifespan will be shortened, and you will continue to suffer. Lin Aotian suddenly realized. So that's the root cause, their family was hot-tempered. Over the years, their bodies would not be able to withstand it, and they would feel tortured and uncomfortable, resulting in early death. Lin Aotian instantly felt regretful. He had not noticed it for so many years. If not for Su Yingxue, the father and daughter would not have been able to escape the fate of early death. Su Yingxue had saved both of them. Lin Aotian stood up, then bent his knees and knelt heavily in front of Su Yingxue. Chapter 109. Su Yuro is a sinister person. Thank you for saving us, Dr. Su. My daughter and I are incredibly grateful. General Lin, please rise, Su Yingxue replied with a benevolent smile. As a doctor, I must treat and save people. However, for both of you to recover from your illnesses, besides taking medicine, you must pay attention to various aspects of your daily life. Su Yingxue provided them with 2 sets of instructions. One was a prescription for medication, and the other contained guidance on how to regulate their lifestyle, including rest, diet, and learning to control their emotions and temper. She believed that if they diligently followed her advice, taking the medicine and improving their temperament, their health would significantly improve, and they could avoid early death, at least not dying before the age of 40. Lin Aotian and his daughter bowed deeply to Su Yingxue again. Lin Cece's fiery temper had changed. In front of Su Yingxue, she spoke softly, "Dr. Su, please forgive me for my previous behavior. I don't want to die early, so I promise not to whip people easily in the future." Su Yingxue nodded reassuringly. "Take good care of yourself, and your health will not be a problem." As for this whip, Su Yingxue returned the whip she had thrown aside earlier. Lin Cece, who had never parted with her beloved whip, felt a hint of fear upon seeing it again. "One don't want it anymore. I'm afraid that I won't be able to control myself and will end up wanting to hit others again." As she said that, a wave of impatience surged in Lin Cece's heart. In the past, she did not know how to control her temper at all. She was like a firecracker that would be ignited at the slightest point. She would randomly whip anyone, so she did not have a single friend since she was young. She seemed to be self-reliant and trained in martial arts, but she was inferior. Because of her face, she was often laughed at by those noble ladies, so she used the whip to teach them a lesson. However, the effect was even worse. They feared her and hated her even more. But now, her face could be cured, and her illness could be treated. She no longer wanted to be a tyrant who wielded a whip all the time. Su Yingxue decided to keep the whip for the time being. In that case, I'll hold on to the whip until you can control your temper and refrain from anger. Once you've achieved that, you can come to reclaim it. There's no need. I'll give this whip to Dr. Su. It's a red jade soft whip bestowed by the Emperor, and the red jade used as the handle is unique and precious. Lin Cece spoke with great valor. Although she was reluctant, she realized her life was more valuable. Observing the rare red jade handle, Su Yingxue chuckled softly. "In that case, I won't be able to accept any more consultation fees from you." "No, we must pay the consultation fee. I'll reward Dr. Su with 10 times the standard fee," Lin Aotian insisted, cupping his hands respectfully. "No need for that. I treat all patients equally, not just the wealthy and noble. One only charge the regular fee." "General Lin, you can pay the standard fee at the counter," Su Yingxue replied calmly. Lin Aotian and his daughter admired Su Yingxue even more. Before leaving, Lin Cece cast a reproachful glance at Su Yuro. "You're too cunning. Dr. Su is undoubtedly a genius doctor, but you deceived me by saying that her reputation is unfounded. You even asked me to teach her a lesson. Luckily, Dr. Su is skilled. Otherwise, one might have injured her accidentally." As Lin Cece spoke, everyone focused their disapproving gaze on Su Yuro. Instantly feeling the weight of everyone's disdain, Su Yuro's eyes turned red as she tried to defend herself gently and delicately. "Cece, how can you say that? I was concerned about your illness, and I thought about our sister's ongoing consultation. One wanted her to treat your illness and improve her reputation. It would have been beneficial for both of you. I had no other intentions." Chapter 110, The Second Female Patient. "What do you mean there's nothing else? Before one came, you clearly said that your sister would mock me. I couldn't stand it anymore, so one whipped her. You're twisting the truth." Lin Cece's temper flared up again. Even though she didn't have a whip in her hand, it didn't prevent her from speaking the truth. Everyone immediately understood how Su Yuro was trying to manipulate the situation. Su Yuro's face flushed and then turned pale. She bit her lower lip. She was secretly annoyed. Lin Cece was an idiot. She was deceived by Su Yingxue with just a few words. Tears hung from the corners of her eyes. "Cece, it's a gratifying thing that you can be cured by my sister. However, I've always been there for you, hoping that you'll recover soon. Even if one haven't done much, I've still put in some effort. Now that you're blaming me like this, it hurts my heart." Sob. She had a delicate face that made people dote on her. Now that she was crying like a pear blossom in the rain, people could not bear to blame her. However, General Lin and his daughter were both straightforward and fiery individuals. They were not fooled by her tactics at all. General Lin even retorted disdainfully, A woman like you should stop associating with Cece. One don't want her to become a hypocritical schemer like you. He then turned to remind Su Yingxue, Dr. Su, be careful not to be harmed by such a vile person. Su Yingxue nodded. Thank you for your reminder, General. Su Yuro felt the rage boiling inside her but couldn't express it. She wished she could spit all over the faces of the father and daughter. Fool. A whole family of short-sighted fools. Once they left, Su Yuro knew she couldn't stay at the clinic any longer. Su Yingxue had already warned her that if she came again, she would get Zi Wei to take action against her. The man with the sword looked too terrifying, and Su Yuro didn't dare to get anywhere near him. She had no choice but to leave. Thankfully, today she had only come to the clinic with Lin Cece, and there were no nobles present. Otherwise, if news of what happened today spread, her true identity would be exposed, and the image she had carefully crafted for many years would be ruined. However, the humiliation she faced today made her angry just thinking about it. She couldn't swallow her anger. She went to a garden to vent her grievances, crying her heart out. After all the commotion, Su Yingxue had only treated Lin Cece. It was noon, and she was supposed to go for lunch and rest. However, she heard Manager Qi talking to someone outside. Miss, the doctor needs to rest at noon. You can come back in 2 hours. Please tell her that this is the only time I'm available, and hope Drive Su can show some mercy to a woman like me, a gentle voice replied, causing people's hearts to ache. Manager Qi was in a dilemma. Su Yingxue stood at the door of the treatment room and smiled at the woman. Miss, please come in. The woman's eyes lit up, and she hurriedly entered the treatment room, immediately closing the door. Su Yingxue sat in front of her table, noticing the woman's peculiar behavior and her unusual attire. Although it was early spring, it wasn't so cold that one needed to wear so many layers of clothes. The thick garments covered her graceful figure entirely. Additionally, she wore a veil under her hood, making it impossible for Su Yingxue to see her face. Su Yingxue could only make assumptions based on the silk and gold embroidery on her clothes, indicating that she came from a wealthy family. Sheng Ping sat in front of Su Yingxue, clutching her clothes with both hands. Her gentle voice trembled as she said, Doctor, I am sick. Su Yingxue noticed her nervousness and decided not to ask further questions. Instead, she asked her to extend her hand for a pulse examination. Chapter 111. The choice between life and death. After taking her pulse, Su Yingxue instantly understood why she was wearing so many clothes. Sheng Ping was waiting for Su Yingxue to speak, feeling as nervous as if awaiting her punishment. She thought Su Yingxue would inquire about her identity, the reason behind her condition, or whether she was married. However, Su Yingxue's tone remained calm. She simply asked, right now, you have 2 choices, one is a path to survive, and the other is a path to death. Which one will you choose? Sheng Ping was momentarily taken aback but showed a hint of gratitude in her eyes. She responded softly, the path to survival is no different from a path to death. Doctor, please prescribe medicine for me. If everything goes smoothly, I believe I can still have a future. Su Yingxue's expression darkened and replied, all right. She did not write the prescription but went to the medicine cabinet to fetch the medicine. Seeing that there were not many people in the hall, Su Yingxue sighed helplessly. She could already guess why this young lady chose this particular time to visit. It was indeed inconvenient for her to be seen. Su Yingxue brought back 2 sets of medicine and placed them on the table. She wrote down the instructions and pushed the medicine toward Sheng Ping, explaining patiently, after drinking the first dose of medicine, the fetus will be aborted within 4 hours. At that time, you must start boiling the second dose. After the fetus is aborted, take the medicine immediately to stop bleeding. Otherwise, your life will be in danger. Do you understand? Sheng Ping tucked the 2 sets of medicine into her arms and replied in a soft voice, I understand. Thank you, doctor. After settling the bill and taking the medicine, Sheng Ping was about to leave. Su Yingxue noticed that she was wearing too many clothes, making her movements somewhat awkward. In the end, she could not help but hold her shoulder and exhorted, if you have the means, take good care of yourself. If there's another occurrence, You won't be able to conceive for the rest of your life. Sheng Ping chuckled softly, her voice tinged with self-deprecation. She moved her lips as if to say that she might not be deserving of the blessing of having children in her life. However, she realized that she couldn't implicate Su Yingxue because of her own identity, so she merely curved her lips and said, "Thank you, doctor." She was a compassionate and understanding doctor. After Sheng Ping left, Su Yingxue had no appetite for lunch. She went straight to her mother's study and flipped through the medical books her mother had left behind. The more she read, the more she felt the profound sense of bitterness in her heart. Her mother was the most renowned female doctor, known throughout the world for her exceptional skills in healing and reviving the near-dead. Before marrying into the Marquise manor, she must have enjoyed immense fame and glory. But what about all the other women in the world? How many women had to endure miserable fates due to their humble origins? How many women, despite their intelligence and talents, were confined to living aimlessly within the confines of a courtyard? How many other women suffered from debilitating illnesses, without a soul to care for them? Women in this world had to endure so much hardship. For example, this lady today was dressed luxuriously, but she could not keep the child in her womb. Moreover, she had suffered multiple miscarriages, leading to weakness and blood deficiency. If she miscarried again today, her life would be in jeopardy. Are you worried about her? Ziwei stood silently behind Su Yingxue, and his hoarse voice resonated near her ear. Su Yingxue casually flipped through a page of the book. I am somewhat concerned, but I noticed the intricate patterns on her clothes and the pendant at her waist. Such items aren't common among ordinary wealthy families. She must be from a noble and prominent family, and she doesn't want to reveal her identity. There's something she cannot speak of. If I were to press her for answers, I would undoubtedly cause her harm. Therefore, without even asking for her name or identity, Su Yingxue allowed her to leave. I can follow her. Ziwei raised his eyes, and the deep purple color carried a dangerous aura. Chapter 112, Chu Yihan wants her to cure someone. Su Yingxue shook her head. No need, I wish her well in the future. She didn't like meddling in other people's affairs, and she couldn't handle everything anyway. However, she couldn't help but think that she had just started her medical practice, and this woman was one of her first patients. In this world, there were probably many women who were as unfortunate as her. She sighed softly, and her gaze returned to the medical book. She noticed that she had reached the last page, but it didn't contain medical content. Instead, there was a sentence written by her mother, "Women have it hard. If I can do a little to help, I'm willing to save women in this world from suffering." A small smile appeared on Su Yingxue's lips as she touched her mother's handwriting, feeling her mother's passion. If she had the ability, she would strive to be like her mother. In the afternoon, Su Yingxue saw more than 10 women, diagnosed their illnesses, and provided them with treatment advice. By the time she finished, the sky had already darkened. She planned to return to the residence with Ziwei, but after calling him a few times, he didn't appear. Where is he? She wondered. Normally, Ziwei wouldn't leave her side for even a moment, but now he seemed confident that she could go back alone. Su Yingxue shook her head. Forget it, she would go back by herself. However, halfway there, a carriage blocked her path. Halfway through her journey, a carriage blocked her path. Fortunately, she was familiar with the carriage and the face in the carriage. As soon as she approached, Chu Yihan extended a hand. Come up. Su Yingxue was pulled into the carriage by him, and Chu Yihan's expression wasn't quite pleasant. There's something one need your help with. What is it? Su Yingxue couldn't help but yawn. She was truly exhausted today, and her eyelids had been battling for some time, yet she was intercepted by Chu Yihan. I heard that you've been treating women lately. There's a woman who needs your help. Chu Yihan's dark, jade-like eyes seemed like an abyss, pulling people in. Su Yingxue perked up instantly. A woman you care a lot about. Chu Yihan patted her head. I don't care about her, but it's related to me. Su Yingxue rolled her eyes, whispering under her breath, you said you're not interested in women. He was so flirtatious with her, and now there was another woman he had a relationship with who needed her to save. All those rumors were just gossip. Humph. Although she felt a bit disgruntled, Su Yingxue couldn't escape from Chu Yihan. After Chu Yihan brought her to a mansion, he went straight into it. Su Yingxue didn't notice what was written on the plaque of the mansion. She followed Chu Yihan inside, and as soon as they entered the courtyard, they heard a maid crying and running over. "Your Highness, you've finally come. The princess, she's in critical condition." Su Yingxue was confused. "Princess?" Chu Yihan took her to a bedroom, and it was in complete disarray, with blood all over the floor. A pile of blood-stained gauze was next to the bed, and there was a just-delivered stillborn baby. Looking at the woman's weak and pale face, Su Yingxue asked in suspicion, "Are you the patient from noon?" Sheng Ping's breathing was feeble, and her bright, crystal-like eyes held a tinge of sorrow. "Dr. Su, we meet again." Su Yingxue felt a heaviness in her heart. "I wish I didn't have to see you like this tonight." She turned around and pushed Chu Yihan out. "Get someone to prepare clean bandages and hot water. I need to treat her." Chu Yihan nodded solemnly. "Understood." He waited outside while Su Yingxue turned back inside. As she tended to Sheng Ping's bleeding, Sheng Ping had already fainted. Chapter 113. The child I sent Chu Yihan's her maid, Liana, cried with heart-wrenching sobs. "Princess, please hold on. Don't die. If you want to save your princess, leave the room first and stop crying here." Su Yingxue drove her away. Liana was reluctant to leave Sheng Ping's side, but under Su Yingxue's stern gaze, her trembling heart forced her to bite her lip and exit the room. Su Yingxue checked Sheng Ping's pulse, administered acupuncture, and then entered the Medicine King Valley to retrieve blood-clotting grass. After grinding it into powder, she fed it to Sheng Ping. She proceeded to cleanse Sheng Ping's body, removing remnants of the afterbirth, and applied medicinal herbs to stop the bleeding. With these tasks completed, Su Yingxue fed the medicine Sheng Ping that she had prepared earlier in the day. Gradually, Sheng Ping regained consciousness after consuming the medicine. Her pale lips moved as if she intended to speak. Su Yingxue advised her, "Your body is weakened now. Don't speak. Lie down and rest. I'll stay here tonight. You'll experience pain, but you must endure it." Sheng Ping's tear-filled eyes conveyed gratitude since she couldn't speak. When Su Yingxue saw this, her heart ached even more. Although Su Yingxue had provided Sheng Ping with numerous potent medicines, she understood that while these could heal the body, they couldn't mend a broken heart. After ensuring Sheng Ping's well-being, Su Yingxue stormed out of the room and angrily shouted at Chu Yihan, "Despicable scoundrel." Chu Yihan furrowed his brows and retorted, "What are you talking about? Her child has nothing to do with me. How could it not? If it weren't for your child, why did you bring me here in the middle of the night for her abortion? Do you have any idea how many times she's been through this? If I hadn't arrived in time this instance, she might not have survived." Su Yingxue's eyes were bloodshot, and she clenched her fists. She was itching to pummel Chu Yihan if she could. She wanted to give this bastard a good beating. He treated a weak woman like this. 2 words were written on Chu Yihan's cold face. He was wronged. He restrained Su Yingxue's fist, which was audibly cracking from the pressure, and spoke in a solemn tone, "Her situation has nothing to do with me, but her parents entrusted her life to me on their deathbeds. That's why I brought you here to save her." Listening to Chu Yihan's explanation, Su Yingxue's emotions became more complicated, but she remained convinced that Chu Yihan was nothing but a vile scoundrel. Always surrounded by beautiful women. There was Hong Lian before, and now there was the pitiable Sheng Ping. Perhaps the tense atmosphere between the two of them was too scary. After Liana finished taking care of Sheng Ping, she knelt in front of Su Yingxue and cried as she explained, "Miss, please don't be angry. Our princess child truly has no relation to your highness. Furthermore, your highness has never set foot in the princess residence until today." Su Yingxue's frown deepened, and she asked, "Then who is your princess?" 5 years ago, the Yu kingdom was annihilated, and the royal family suffered heavy losses. Before the late emperor's passing, he exchanged the imperial seal for the princess life, pleading with your highness to bring the princess to the great Cheng dynasty to save her life, Liana explained in a calm voice. In that instant, Su Yingxue suddenly recalled that there was indeed a princess in the great Cheng dynasty. She wasn't of royal blood but rather a princess from a fallen nation. And the Yu kingdom had been conquered by Chu Yihan himself 5 years ago. It had now become a part of the great Cheng dynasty's territory. Upon closer consideration, Sheng Ping did indeed have a connection with Chu Yihan, yet her maid had confirmed that the child was not his. As Su Yingxue gazed at Chu Yihan, her feelings became even more intricate. Chu Yihan saw that she had finally stopped beating him up, so he pulled her to sit down and patiently explained, "Just now, her maid came seeking help. She said that the princess' life was in danger. That's why I brought you here. I did not know about her exact condition." Chapter 114. She's too pitiful. When Chu Yihan brought her back 5 years ago, he secured a princess manor for her and told her that if her life was ever in danger, she could seek him out at the 9th prince's mansion. Little did he expect that when they reunited 5 years later, she would be in such a state. Chu Yihan's tone remained calm and unruffled, devoid of any sentiment. There was no trace of empathy or regret. However, Liana felt wronged on behalf of Sheng Ping. She knelt before Chu Yihan, tears streaming down her face as she pleaded, "Your Highness, please pardon me. The princess has endured so much suffering over these 5 years. She said that unless her life is at stake, she must not disturb Your Highness. Even tonight, she forbade me from seeking Your Highness' help. But I'm truly terrified that the princess won't survive." Princess Sheng Ping was a rare beauty, her eyes shimmering like glass, exuding an enchanting allure. When ordinary men saw her like this or listened to Liana's words, they would feel their hearts ache and be moved. However, Chu Yihan merely responded with a casual hum. She was not curious about what happened to Sheng Ping, nor did she feel any pity for her. Su Yingxue suddenly felt that this man was too cold-blooded. After all, she was a beauty he had brought back from conquering the country. Didn't he feel sorry for her? Chu Yihan turned his head around, and as if he had seen through her thoughts, he said coldly, "Those unrelated to me won't elicit my sympathy." His words were truly cutting. Inside the bedroom, Sheng Ping, her eyes blurred with tears, heard Chu Yihan's words, and her last emotional defense crumbled. Su Yingxue and Chu Yihan had stood vigil over Sheng Ping throughout the night. When she awoke the next morning, Su Yingxue prepared another dose of medicine for her to take before departing. "Dr. Su, please wait." Sheng Ping sat on the bed. The pain was unbearable, but she still insisted on bowing to Su Yingxue. "Dr. Su, I'm deeply indebted to you for saving my life." "Thank you." As a woman, Su Yingxue naturally felt sorry for her. She helped Sheng Ping to sit up, and spoke gently, "One don't like to meddle in other people's business. But as your doctor, I hope that you can take good care of your body. Given your current situation, bearing children might not be advisable. Please, in the future, prioritize your well-being." A touch of melancholy flickered across Sheng Ping's delicate face. "Thank you, Dr. Su. As for the future, let it be. Let it be." This was the first time Su Yingxue had heard a woman speak with such despair. What could have possibly transpired to lead this young girl to utter such words? Liana had been serving Sheng Ping since she was young. Seeing her like this, she cried heartbroken. "Princess, when will these days end? If no one protects you, in the future, you're going to be tortured to death by those people." She knelt before Chu Yihan, crying desperately, "Your Highness, please have mercy. Take the princess as your wife, offer her your protection. Princess is too pitiful. Liana, don't spout nonsense. Come back." Sheng Ping was always strong in front of Su Yingxue, but when Liana cried and begged Chu Yihan, she panicked. The fragility in her eyes broke down in an instant, and her tears kept falling. Chu Yihan's brows furrowed, his deep, cold eyes exuding an unrelenting demeanor. "I will not marry her." Sheng Ping clenched her lips tightly, suppressing the heartache that surged within her. "Sheng Ping understands that she doesn't warrant your Highness' attention. I dare not hope for such a privilege." Liana was just speaking casually. Liana shook her head desperately. "No, Princess. I'm not saying this casually. Other than the Emperor, only 9th Prince can protect you. Only by marrying your highness can you not be remembered by those thieves and not be bullied by them. Otherwise, your life will be in danger in the future. Chapter 115. He has already got love. Sheng Ping carried a profound sense of sorrow, and even though Su Yingxue tried to distance herself from the situation, she couldn't shake off the lingering feeling of melancholy. She ventured to ask, "You mentioned that Princess Sheng Ping was subjected to humiliation. Could it be that those who mistreated her were members of the royal family? Otherwise, how could Liana assert that, apart from the emperor, only Chu Yihan could protect her?" Despite being a princess of a fallen kingdom, Sheng Ping was still a princess after all. It seemed unlikely that anyone, apart from those of the royal family, would dare to subject her to such humiliation, leading to multiple miscarriages. Sheng Ping could only suppress her emotions and continue to sob quietly. Meanwhile, Liana wept in silence. Su Yingxue instantly understood that she had guessed correctly. However, she genuinely wished to avoid getting involved in this affair. Chu Yihan also detected Su Yingxue's thoughts. He left a sentence, "I will have someone guard the princess manor." Then, he left with Su Yingxue. As Sheng Ping watched him leave, his departure seemed cold and unfeeling, but his hand held Su Yingxue's hand tightly. The lingering doubts she had held for years were suddenly dispelled. It turned out that the man she deeply loved wasn't incapable of love. Instead, he was already in love. And that love was unique. Inside Chu Yihan's carriage, Su Yingxue was so tired that she was lying on the small table. However, the way she looked at Chu Yihan was still filled with disdain. Chu Yihan felt wronged. He poked Su Yingxue's soft cheek. "It's been proven that her situation has nothing to do with me. Why are you still looking at me that way?" Su Yingxue did not know where the anger came from. Perhaps she pitied the princess of a fallen country, or perhaps she was angry. Chu Yihan was good at attracting women. One or two of them were stunning women. How many other women were there around him? How many other women were still thinking about him and hoping to have a relationship with him? The more Su Yingxue thought about it, the angrier she got. She decided not to think about it anymore and not look at Chu Yihan, that scoundrel. Having stayed up all night, she fell asleep in that position. She didn't know how long she had slept. The sun shone in from outside the car window, and her body felt slightly hot. She rubbed her eyes and woke up. To her surprise, she was still in Chu Yihan's carriage. However, her sleeping position had shifted. She had moved from the small table to rest her head on Chu Yihan's lap. This man had an impressive physique. His powerful legs made for a comfortable pillow and a pleasant touch. Su Yingxue was still wrapped in a blanket. Chu Yihan gently pinched her delicate nose. "Dr. Su, did you sleep well?" Su Yingxue rubbed her face and put on a serious expression. "I slept well. Goodbye, Your Highness." With that, she hopped out of the carriage, seemingly carefree and nonchalant. Chu Yihan looked at her with a complicated expression. Su Yingxue paid little heed to his reaction. She entered the Marquise manor without a second thought, leaving him puzzled. The feeling was undeniably liberating. After all, Chu Yihan was surrounded by so many exceptional beauties. Chu Yihan sat in the car. Su Yingxue had been sleeping on his lap for a long time, so her faint body fragrance lingered on his lap. He lovingly caressed the place where she had pressed him just now. Before long, there was movement outside the carriage. Mo Chi spat out a mouthful of blood, his breathing ragged. "Master, I failed. I couldn't kill him and lost track of him. One haven't been able to locate his hiding place." Chu Yihan's deep eyes flickered with a dangerous glint as he stared at the Marquise manor behind him. "Hiding place? Right here." He didn't blame Mo Chi and said coldly, "Continue until you succeed in killing him." Chapter 116. He only knows how to kill, won't run. "Yes, Your Highness. Should the shadow guards be mobilized?" Mo Chi asked. "He is not worthy," Chu Yihan said with cold arrogance, raising his hand with the authority of a superior, commanding submission. In the Marquise manor, Su Yingxue had not returned the entire night. When she came back, the scent of blood reached her nose. She thought there might be someone injured in the courtyard, but later she discovered that the smell of blood was emanating from her room. Closing the door, Ziwei stood in the room like a statue. The deep purple at the corners of his eyes exuded an intense coldness, and his eyes seemed veiled by a crimson mist. Su Yingxue quickly took his pulse and realized he had returned with fresh injuries. She gritted her teeth and exclaimed angrily, "Ziwei, why are you injured again?" The previous poison had not yet been fully cured, and his internal injuries were not yet healed. Now, he had accumulated a fresh set of wounds. "Are you testing my medical skills?" Su Yingxue exclaimed in frustration. Ziwei was injured. Facing her accusation, he said in a cold and detached manner, "No. Then how did you sustain these injuries? Chasing. Are you pursuing others? Or are you being pursued?" "Pursued." Then Su Yingxue knew that he was a person who could not communicate normally, so she could only treat his injuries first. After treating the wounds on his body, she pulled him to sit down and repeatedly reminded him, "In the future, you're not allowed to fight even if you're being chased. Run if you can." Su Yingxue knew that he had many enemies in the past, and she worried for his safety. "I won't run." Ziwei's voice was hoarse, yet stubborn. From the day he first held a sword, he learned one thing. He could fall, he could die, but he must never flee. Otherwise, he would fail his mission, and returning would be a death sentence. As a man without a true place to belong, he could only fight his way forward. "Even if you won't, you have to learn it. Whether you seek refuge in the medical hall or the Marquise Manor, you must come to my side. Even if you die, you can only die by my side. Do you understand?" Su Yingxue shouted in anger. Ziwei's gaze softened slightly. "Why? Because you are mine. No one can take your life except me." Su Yingxue's gaze was unwavering. "I promised to heal you. One will make sure you live a long life. After one brought you back from the Silver Moon Pavilion, one won't let you die. You absolutely cannot die." Ziwei's chest trembled strongly. He agreed to Su Yingxue's demand. All right. Even if he had to die by her side. After Su Yingxue tended to his wounds, she accompanied him to the medical hall every day. It seemed as though she feared he would again risk his life. Whenever she had a moment's rest, she would call him out to ensure he was still by her side, still alive. On this day, a messenger arrived from Liang Jin, informing her of a court session the following day, and advising her to prepare. Su Yingxue smirked. "Lord Wa's health has recovered so quickly. It seems he's eager to convict me." The messenger from Liang Jin thought Su Yingxue was exceedingly audacious. But following Liang Jin's instructions, he still delivered his message. "Lord Liang wants to remind Miss Su that assaulting an official of the imperial court is a grave offense. It could result in a 10-year imprisonment or at the very least a severe flogging. Miss Su should be mentally prepared." Liang Jin would make a judgment based on the circumstances, but Su Yingxue would undoubtedly be subjected to punishment. Su Yingxue remained confident and replied with a faint smile, "Please convey my gratitude to Lord Liang." Seeing her composure, the messenger shook his head and reported back to Liang Jin. After Su Yingxue finished speaking, she noticed Su Hao's arrival. "You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.